Chapter 1961. With their previous words, Chun Tong could use the power of Sky Yuan sect to deal with Luo Qingtong. At that time, even if he Qianming resisted, the Grand Supreme Dean would feel uneasy if he inexplicably attracted such an enemy for Luo Qingtong. Sai, it's all my fault. If he had known earlier, he would have quietly brought Luo Qingtong and the others over. But this was unrealistic because Chun Tong had been watching him. The Grand Supreme Dean felt depressed thinking about it. At this time, Bai Suqing frowned and said coldly, "What are you afraid of? Do you still have a future? Your student stood up for you, and you're still afraid of this and that. So what if I can't cure her? I'll insist that I'll be cured. What would he do to me?" Bai Suqing said coldly, "Anyway, my father should be out of seclusion by then. Don't worry. Little Qingtong, I won't let them touch you," she said resolutely. Luo Qingtong found it funny. Master's wife agreed so easily because she was planning to renege on the debt. But Luo Qingtong wasn't going to let the other party renege on the debt. "Don't worry, Master's wife, I'm confident." Luo Qingtong knew that Bai Suqing was still worried about her medical skills. After all, her injury was much more serious than the Grand Supreme Dean. Moreover, the situation was much more dangerous. But for Luo Qingtong, as long as Bai Suqing's body wasn't crippled, there was still hope. If she was really crippled by the violent power in her body, then there was no other way. Okay, Bai Suqing's character was very straightforward. After hearing that Luo Qingtong said that there was no problem, she agreed decisively. Then let them prepare quickly. Don't feel burdened. It doesn't matter if I can't cure her. I know my own body very well. Bai Suqing thought it through. When she transferred her strength to the Grand Supreme Dean, she was already prepared to be crippled. So it was a surprise that Luo Qingtong could cure her. If it couldn't be cured, she wouldn't force it. In short, she wouldn't let anything happen to Luo Qingtong and the others. Chun Tong and the others. Don't even think about touching them. Luo Qingtong listened to her words and smiled. She didn't say anything and just let the Grand Principal and the others prepare. At that time, she would naturally give them a big gift. The Grand Principal quickly found a secret room. Yi Qianming and the Grand Principal stood guard outside. With a man around, Luo Qingtong naturally treated Bai Suqing without worry. "Mistress, listen to my command. Close your eyes," Luo Qingtong said to Bai Suqing. The latter did as he was told. When Qin Tong heard that Luo Qingtong and the rest had found a secret room to treat Bai Suqing, he sneered. "It's actually quite decent. That way, it will be easier to find an excuse, right?" Qin Tong felt that he had already seen through Luo Qingtong and the Grand Principal. His pair of rather handsome eyes narrowed slightly as he coldly said to the people beside him, "Go, call all the elders of the peaks and the inner yard over. Tell them that I have something to ask them to witness. It's a big matter of our Sky Yuan sect. Tell them to come." Yes, the disciples received the order and immediately left to pass on the orders to the various peaks and the inner yard. Chapter 1962. However, Chun Tong was the chief disciple of the current sect leader of the Tian Yuan sect. They naturally had to give him some face. After all, if there was no accident, the sect leader of the Tian Yuan sect would be Chun Tong in the future. However, some people still guessed that this matter might be related to the Grand Supreme Dean who was brought back to the sect leader. "Sai, I heard that Zhui was found by Bai Suqing and brought back to the sect. Qin Tong wouldn't come to us for this matter, right?" An elder said. "It's not impossible." Another elder said at this time, when Zhui was still alive, Chun Tong always wanted to surpass him. After that, Zhui had an accident in the land of the fallen immortals. It was said that it was an accident, but who doesn't know that that place is a forbidden area that everyone knows? If it was really an accident, then how stupid is Zhui? Isn't that so? Many of the elders gathered together and said. However, Bai Suqing didn't have any evidence back then, let alone them. They just gathered together and casually gossiped. When Qin Tong brought them to the place where Bai Suqing was treated and saw the Grand Supreme Dean and others guarding outside, they immediately understood in their hearts. Sure enough, it was for Zhu Yi. "Sai, This Qintong was really unwilling to give up until he killed Zhu Yi. The crowd looked at the secret room behind the Grand Supreme Dean and others and vaguely knew what was going on. When they heard Qintong's explanation, they were even more clear. Sigh, this Zhu Yi, should I call him stupid or stupid? For so many years, he couldn't beat Qintong, and now he's being led by the nose. Qintong is clearly looking for an opportunity to kill them. That's right. Previously, when he asked them to go down the mountain, he just went down the mountain. Although it's not very good on his face, at least he saved his life. Why is he so stubborn with Qintong? Great. Now that Qintong has gotten hold of his weakness, he absolutely won't let him off. That's right. A group of elders shook their heads. None of them were optimistic about the Grand Supreme Dean and Luo Qintong. Not for anything else, but it was true that the Grand Supreme Dean's injury was cured. They were also very surprised in their hearts. After all, the injury in that place had never been cured before. But that was only the Grand Supreme Dean. Moreover, whether it was his student who cured it was still uncertain. They had heard from the disciples around them that the girl was only 15 or 16 years old. How could she have such amazing medical skills at such a young age? Most likely, it was due to some kind of accident. Such cases were not unheard of in the hidden world. But such a coincidence, it could not be repeated. Not to mention that Bai Suqing's condition was much more serious than the Grand Supreme Dean's. She was basically a cripple. How could she be cured? The group of elders shook their heads continuously. They felt that the Grand Dean and his students would not be able to escape this calamity. The Grand Supreme Dean might be able to escape, but his student. Sigh. The Grand Supreme Sect's immortals, when the Grand Dean saw the group of Heavenly Yuan sect elders that Qintong had brought, his face instantly darkened. How could he not know what Qintong was planning? He was afraid that they would not fulfill their promise, so he had deliberately invited all the elders of the Sky Yuan sect to come. Chapter 1963. The other party was really scheming and vicious. Senior brother. Qintong's face was full of arrogance and hypocrisy. I've thought about it. The agreement with all of you back then was too frivolous and informal. It's inevitable that there will be some disputes in the future. That won't be good. Of course, that wouldn't be respectful enough. Now, I've invited the elders of the various peaks and the elders of the inner yard to be witnesses. When the time comes, it'll be clear who's right and who's wrong. We don't have to be afraid of anyone slandering us behind our backs. Don't you think that makes sense? He smiled and looked at the Grand Supreme Dean. If you say so, then so be it. The Grand Supreme Dean's eyes were cold, and he was holding back his anger. He clearly wanted to kill them, but he was still pretending to be hypocritical. It was really disgusting. Evil doctor, you have to work hard. After treating her injuries, come out and shut this bastard up. The Grand Supreme Dean was full of anger and looked at Qintong coldly. All right, we'll do as we said. If my student can treat junior sister's injuries, you'll be at our disposal. If he can't treat her, then I'll be at your disposal. Great. Senior brother is indeed a straightforward person. Qintong laughed out loud with a complacent expression. He looked at the elders around him and said, Elders, did you hear what my senior brother said? I didn't force him to say it. He said it voluntarily. Please be a witness. When the time comes, if Master comes out of seclusion, I'll have an explanation to him. Qintong sneered and looked as if victory was in his hands. When the elders heard that, they looked at the Grand Supreme Dean and sighed. Sigh, this Zhu Yi. Yes, we all heard it. Everyone was invited here, and the Grand Supreme Dean had clearly mentioned the bet with Qintong in front of them. They couldn't possibly pretend that they didn't hear it, right? When they heard that, they immediately nodded. Qintong was very satisfied and waited for Luo Qintong to finish treating Bai Suqing. Of course, he was waiting for Luo Qintong to fail. In his opinion, it was impossible for Luo Qintong to treat Bai Suqing successfully. In the secret chamber, after Luo Qintong asked Bai Suqing to close her eyes, she completely released her pupil technique. Buzz! The blood-red pupils in her eyes spun violently. Two incomparably deep eyes were rotating violently as a boundless blood-red color instantly spread in all directions. Her entire pupils were dyed a blood-red color. As Luo Qingtong's pupil technique was activated, the situation inside Bai Suqing's body appeared in Luo Qingtong's eyes. This included where the energy accumulated the most, where the energy was the strongest, and where the energy was the weakest. If he wanted to clear it, which route should he start from? Everything was reflected in her eyes. It was a piece of cake for Luo Qingtong to get rid of these forces. After all, she had already done a similar treatment on the Grand Supreme Dean before. Even if Bai Suqing's condition was more serious than the Grand Supreme Dean's, it was not difficult for Luo Qingtong to do it again. Even if someone was doing a math problem, you already knew how to solve a problem. Even if you slightly changed the type of problem and increased the difficulty, it would only take a little more effort. Chapter 1964. However, Luo Qingtong did not intend to only remove the energy in Bai Suqing's body. After all, if she only wanted to remove the energy, there was no need for the Grand Dean to specially prepare a secret chamber for her. This was because it would not take much time for her to remove the energy, and there was no danger of her pupil technique being discovered. What she wanted to do was another thing that was beyond everyone's expectations. It was also a huge gift that she wanted to give to the Grand Dean and Bai Suqing. Buzz. The pupil technique in Luo Qingtong's eyes was rotating. Her eyes were also analyzing the nature of the energy in Bai Suqing's body. These violent energies were broken down into countless components in Luo Qingtong's eyes. Luo Qingtong was comparing the nature of their energy with Bai Suqing's energy. Countless numbers of data flashed past Luo Qingtong's eyes. Streams of data were constantly being exchanged and extracted. Soon, Luo Qingtong locked onto the part of the violent energies that was similar to Bai Suqing's energy. Swoosh! Luo Qingtong's eyes were filled with a bloody light in an instant. She pointed her finger out. At this moment, Bai Suqing saw that she did not move and thought that she was nervous and afraid. She immediately said, "Little Qingtong, don't worry, Before she could finish her sentence, Luo Qingtong's hand had already pointed at her back. In an instant, the young girl's energy rushed into Bai Suqing's body without any reservation. Boom! Those energies in Bai Suqing's body instantly sensed an external invasion. How could those energies, who had already treated Bai Suqing's body as their territory, tolerate the invasion of Luo Qingtong's energy? Immediately, all the energies were automatically mobilized and attacked Luo Qingtong's energy. Little Qingtong, you? Bai Suqing was shocked. She closed her eyes tightly and listened to Luo Qingtong's order. However, she was extremely nervous. She did not expect Luo Qingtong's action to be so intense. Bai Suqing originally thought that Luo Qingtong would slowly probe her energy into her body, explore the energy, and then slowly guide it to remove it. She did not expect her action to be so intense that she directly poured her energy into her body. She would be attacked by those violent energies. By then, even Luo Qingtong might be affected. She was so anxious that she wanted to open her eyes. However, before she could do anything, her mouth opened. Her lips parted in shock, filled with disbelief and bewilderment. Buzz! After Luo Qingtong's energy entered Bai Suqing's body, Luo Qingtong, her energy, she was surrounded by all the energies. All the violent energy in Bai Suqing's body was stirred up by her and rushed towards the place where her energy was. Luo Qingtong's eyes to Luo Qingtong's. She was not to Luo Qingtong's twos to Luo Qingtong's. Boom! Luo Qingtong's eye technique had already mapped out a complete route to reach Bai Suqing's dantian the moment her power entered her body. Luo Qingtong's power swept towards Bai Suqing's dantian almost unimpeded. Behind her was a long string of violent energy from Bai Suqing's body. Rumble. Chapter 1965. Boom! Just as Luo Qingtong's power was about to reach Bai Suqing's dantian, she suddenly turned around and welcomed the violent power that was rushing towards her. Mistress, circulate your energy in your dantian and circulate your energy. Luo Qingtong's voice resounded in the outside world. At the same time, the energy that entered Bai Suqing's body collided with the violent energy. Bai Suqing subconsciously obeyed her order and circulated her energy in her dantian to circulate her energy. However, her energy had already been transferred to the Grand Supreme Dean through dual cultivation. How could she still circulate her energy? While she was confused, she suddenly felt a wave of energy coming out from her body. The energy came out from her meridians. It came from the place where Luo Qingtong's energy collided with the violent energy. After Luo Qingtong's energy collided with the violent energy was suddenly split into two. One part of the energy and Luo Qingtong's energy offset each other. As for the other part of the power, it had become her power. It was indeed her energy. Bai Suqing was surprised. She could sense that the nature of this energy was exactly the same as the nature of her own energy. Luo Qingtong had converted the violent energy into her own energy. Bai Suqing was indescribably shocked. At this moment, her dantian started to circulate due to her subconscious action. She absorbed the energy from her meridians into her dantian. It was actually circulating in her dantian without any obstruction. Then, it was released again. Following the circulation of her aura, it continued to circulate in her meridians. That violent energy had actually become her own energy. Bai Suqing's heart was filled with wonder. Luo Qingtong was pouring her energy into Bai Suqing's dantian to separate and dissolve the energy in Bai Suqing's body. She did not know where the energy came from. It was very overbearing and violent, and could not be extinguished for a long time. It was also because Luo Qingtong had the eye technique that could perfectly separate the energy from Bai Suqing's meridians. Otherwise, it could not be removed, not to mention transforming it into the nature of Bai Suqing's power. Luo Qingtong's dojutsu had also recently leveled up, giving her this ability. Before she had treated the Grand Supreme Dean's injuries, she did not possess such an ability. Of course, he didn't have that kind of strength. The level of these berserk energies was extremely high. Otherwise, with Bai Suqing's status as the daughter of the Sky Yuan sect leader, she would not have been able to remove it. After all, if the sect leader of the Heavenly Yuan sect were to take action, he should be able to succeed. The only thing he could be sure of was that this violent energy was even stronger than the Heavenly Yuan sect masters. Luo Qingtong could already vaguely guess where the injuries of the Grand Principal and the others came from. Aside from the land of the fallen immortals, where else in the hidden world could be stronger than a holy sovereign? The injuries of the Grand Supreme Dean and Bai Suqing should be from the land of the deceased immortals. Furthermore, it shouldn't be an ordinary place. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She patiently broke down the violent energy in Bai Suqing's body. The speed of her breaking down was very slow. After all, the level of these energies was very high. It was also because these energies had broken roots in Bai Suqing's body and there was no source to support them. The more she broke them down, the less they would be. Chapter 1966. Buzz. As Luo Qingtong broke down the violent power, Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. Bai Suqing absorbed more and more energy. Because the energy stayed in her body for a long time, it was very compatible with her body. After it was converted into her energy, it was immediately accepted by her dantian and body. The energy in Bai Suqing's body circulated very quickly. After the violent energy was decomposed by Luo Qingtong, the blocked and damaged meridians in her body were also cleared out. Her energy circulated in them, and soon, they were slowly repaired. As her power increased, and Luo Qingtong broke down more and more of the violent power, a virtuous cycle was forming in her body. Finally, after Luo Qingtong decomposed and eliminated the last trace of violent energy in her body, boom! Bai Suqing's body suddenly erupted with an extremely powerful energy fluctuation. In an instant, boom, boom, boom. In her body, her strength was rapidly increasing. From almost becoming a cripple, it was rapidly increasing. Boom, boom, boom. In Bai Suqing's body, the energy was surging like a thunderstorm. Her strength was constantly increasing. Soon, she broke through to the Holy Emperor realm, and it was still increasing. Finally, she reached the Holy Emperor realm. After the violent energy in her body was decomposed, not only did she return to her original strength, but she also increased by 1 level. And when the energy in Bai Suqing's body was surging like thunder outside the secret chamber, Chun Tong and the others seemed to have sensed some movement. In an instant, he stood up. Humph. Seems like she failed. Chun Tong sneered. How could there be such a sound like thunder when the energy was breaking through in an ordinary treatment? Although it was not clear from outside, there was no doubt that there was a problem inside. In Chun Tong's opinion, it was most likely that Luo Qingtong tried to draw out the energy in Bai Suqing's body and failed, causing the movement. I already said that Bai Suqing's injury is incurable. The master and disciple insisted on showing off their ability. Now it's fine, right? The smile at the corner of Chun Tong's lips was cold. He said to the Grand Dean, who was also bewildered, Senior brother, you also sensed the commotion earlier, right? I'm afraid your student has failed inside. Now, what else do you want to say to me? Fulfill your promise. Chun Tong sneered. Of course, you better pray that junior sister is fine. Otherwise, all of you will have to pay with your lives. Also, senior brother, you have to accept your loss. How dare you joke around with junior sister's life? From now on, don't call yourself a member of the Sky Yuan sect. Our heavenly Yuan sect doesn't have a disciple like you. The Grand Supreme Dean clenched his fists tightly. However, compared to teaching Chun Tong a lesson, he was more worried about the situation in the secret chamber. Why was there such a strong commotion coming from inside? And from the looks of it, it seemed to be a sign of a breakthrough. However, there were only Luo Qingtong and Bai Suqing in this secret chamber. The commotion caused by Luo Qingtong's breakthrough was not that big, but it could not be Bai Suqing's breakthrough, right? Did she really fail? The Grand Supreme Dean's heart was burning with anxiety. Behind him, Yi Qianxian raised his eyebrows. With his strength, he was naturally more sensitive than the rest of the people present. The energy inside clearly belonged to Bai Suqing. Chapter 1967. Yi Qianxian felt that when he was with Luo Qingtong, he would never be able to figure out how many surprises she could bring to him. Just as Yi Qianxian's lips curled up, the door of the secret chamber suddenly opened. Luo Qingtong appeared in front of everyone, her face covered in sweat. Qingtong, the Grand Supreme Dean, rushed over almost immediately. However, there was another figure who was faster than him and arrived in front of Luo Qingtong. He raised his hand and pulled her into his arms. Why are you so tired? Yi Qianxian furrowed his brows. He channeled a trace of his energy into Luo Qingtong's body and carefully checked her body. He was relieved when he found that she was only a little exhausted and was fine. If Luo Qingtong hurt herself while treating Bai Suqing, he might not be able to hold back his anger. Yi Qianxian's eyes were filled with coldness and anger. However, he quickly withdrew his aura when he found that Luo Qingtong was fine. Luo Qingtong looked at him and was about to speak when Chun Tong's voice was heard. Men, arrest them. He raised his hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian. He could not touch the Grand Supreme Dean for the time being, but it did not mean that he could not touch the two of them. Today, he would let Zhu Yi know what regret was. How dare you act recklessly in our Sky Yuan sect? How dare you lie that you have a way to cure my junior sister when you know that you can't treat her? Throw them into the dungeon. Wait until we see how my junior sister is doing. If my junior sister is not doing well, both of you, just wait to pay with your lives. Qingtong's voice was cold. Luo Qingtong originally wanted to tell the Grand Supreme Dean that Bai Suqing was fine. She raised her brows when she heard that. Then, she thought of the energy fluctuation that erupted when Bai Suqing had just broken through. So, did they think that she had failed? While Luo Qingtong was thinking, the Grand Supreme Dean, who was about to rush into the secret chamber, turned back immediately when he heard Qintong's voice. Qintong, what are you doing? The matter is not clear yet. What right do you have to attack them? Moreover, if you have a problem, come at me. I asked them to treat her. It has nothing to do with the two of them. Do whatever you want to kill them, he said angrily. Qintong was waiting for him to come at him. Otherwise, it would not be good for him to attack the Grand Supreme Dean by himself. But if the other party asked for it, then there would be no problem, right? After all, his junior Qianxian was courting death himself. Thought Luo Qingtong zest thinking about it. Just as he was about to speak, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded first. Wait! Luo Qingtong raised her hand to stop the Grand Supreme Dean. She raised her brows and looked at Qintong. Elder Chun, you can't wait to punish us. What will you say if I treat her injuries? If you can treat my junior sister's injuries, I'll immediately kneel on the ground and crawl around the Sky Yuan sect 3 times. Qintong sneered. At this time, they still dared to act stubbornly and play the game of diversion. However, it was useless. Qintong sneered as he said those words. However, as soon as he said those words, an extremely cold voice was heard from the secret chamber. Chapter 1968. Men, serve Elder Chun well. As she said that, Bai Suqing walked out of the secret chamber. When they saw Bai Suqing, almost all the elders of the Sky Yuan sect gasped in disbelief. They looked at Bai Suqing, who had walked out of the secret chamber, in shock. The waves of aura rippling out from the latter's body shook their hearts. Saint Emperor Realm. One of the elders of the Sky Yuan sect shouted in disbelief. The others also had looks of disbelief on their faces. The strength of a Saint Emperor Realm was not a particularly powerful cultivation for the elders of the Sky Yuan sect. As a first-class sect, most of the elders of the Sky Yuan sect were at the Holy Spirit Realm, or even close to the Holy Venerate Realm. There were even a few elders of the main peak who were at the Holy Venerate Realm, like the sect leader of the Sky Yuan sect. It was just that they were not as powerful as Bai Suqing. However, at that moment, the person standing in front of them was Bai Suqing, who was supposed to be a cripple. It was impossible that the elders of the Sky Yuan sect did not know what kind of injuries she had suffered. He even knew that for the sake of the Grand Principal, she had given the last bit of her strength to him. Under such circumstances, it was almost certain that she would become a cripple. Otherwise, the elders of the Sky Yuan sect would not have sighed for the Grand Supreme Dean when they heard that he and Qintong had used this as a wager. This was because they thought that the Grand Supreme Dean would definitely lose. However, when Bai Suqing stepped out of the secret chamber, not only was the violent energy in her body healed, but her aura and strength had also increased. How is this possible? Among them, Qintong was the most shocked. He still had a smug and cold smile on his face. He was about to instruct the people around him to capture Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian and imprison the Grand Supreme Dean. He was going to show the Grand Supreme Dean what it meant to be too late for regrets. However, Bai Suqing's appearance had shattered all of his hopes. He looked in disbelief at Bai Suqing, who had appeared in front of him. He took a step forward and wanted to test the strength of the other party. This is impossible. Your strength must be fake. His face was flushed red. He raised his hand to grab Bai Suqing's hand, but the latter suddenly waved her hand away. Bang! A mighty and powerful aura burst out from Bai Suqing's hand and blasted toward Qintong. The latter hurriedly raised his hand to block the attack, but his body was blasted back by the attack and staggered back a few steps. At this moment, no one doubted that Bai Suqing's aura fluctuation was fake. She raised her hand and blasted out a powerful aura that was so condensed that it directly blasted the unprepared Qintong back. She couldn't possibly say that Qintong and the two of them colluded together, right? Moreover, with the strength of the Heavenly Yuan sect's elders present, how could they not be able to tell whether Bai Suqing had used her own power or a disguised external power in her attack? Suqing, Your strength has actually recovered, and it's still improving. The elders of the Sky Yuan sect who had come to witness the bet were pleasantly surprised. Chapter 1969. Bai Suqing's injuries had been healed, and her strength had increased tremendously. No one knew better than them what this meant. All of this was simply too good to be true. As for the Grand Supreme Dean, his mouth was agape as he looked at Bai Suqing, who had stepped out of the secret chamber. His heart was filled with indescribable surprise and shock. You, junior sister, your injuries have been healed, and your strength has been restored. She had even leveled up by 1 level. Oh my God! The Grand Supreme Dean was shocked. Previously, he had looked for Luo Qingtong with a glimmer of hope that Luo Qingtong would be able to prevent Bai Suqing's body from deteriorating and get rid of the energy that was entrenched in her body. As for her strength, the Grand Supreme Dean had never thought of asking Luo Qingtong to help her recover. After all, it would be too much to ask of her. He should be extremely grateful that Luo Qingtong was able to protect Bai Suqing's body under such circumstances. How would he dare to think of anything else? However, Luo Qingtong had done something that he did not even dare to think of. The Grand Supreme Dean rushed over and came to Bai Suqing's side. He took her pulse. Bai Suqing did not stop him, but only looked at him angrily. Then, she followed him to check the condition of her body. She knew that the Grand Supreme Dean had been worried about her for a long time. Although he had been avoiding her for so many years, and she was still angry with him, she would not let him worry too much about such a serious matter. Haha, really? Little junior sister, you've really recovered all your strength. The berserk energy is also gone. Haha. The Grand Supreme Dean was so happy that he danced with joy. Bai Suqing was instantly annoyed when she saw him behaving like this. This person had been frivolous since he was young. At this moment, he was still frivolous. That's right. My strength has been fully restored, and it has leveled up by 1 level. Moreover, she looked around at the people around her. Seeing their expectant gazes, she nodded and said, "There's not a trace of that violent energy left in my body. In the future, it will not cause any harm to my strength and body." Naturally, it would not cause any harm. After all, those powers had all become her own. Wasn't that the case? However, Bai Suqing didn't say it out loud. She could feel that Luo Qingtong was extraordinary for her to be able to do this. Once it was revealed, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. The other party was Zhu Yi's student. Since she was trying her best to save her, she naturally had to keep her secret. Moreover, she really didn't know how he did it. In that case, he would just pretend that he didn't know anything. Bai Suqing concealed this matter, which made Luo Qingtong somewhat surprised. She originally thought that Bai Suqing would reveal this matter, so she had already prepared a way to deal with it so that no one would suspect her pupil technique. Unexpectedly, Bai Suqing did not mention anything about it. Luo Qingtong could naturally see that she was covering up for herself. When Bai Suqing's voice was heard, the elders of the Sky Yuan sect also received the answer that they had expected. Immediately, they were elated. I didn't expect this young lady to be able to heal Bai Suqing's injuries. Chapter 1970. You should know that this injury is something that no one in the hidden world can heal. Every time we go to the land of the fallen immortals, there will be some disciples who will be harmed if we want to explore that place. Now that we have this little girl's treatment method, we don't have to worry so much. That's right. The elders of the Sky Yuan sect discussed animatedly as they looked at Luo Qingtong with love and admiration. As for Qingtong, he was completely dumbfounded. Bai Suqing's words were the final fatal blow to him. Since she said that, it proved that she was not afraid of any investigation. Not all of the elders on the ground were from the sect master's side. So what she said was true. Her injuries had actually been healed. Not only that, but her strength had also been restored and improved. Qingtong looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong in amazement. He did not expect this little girl, who looked to be only 15 or 16 years old, to be able to heal the injury that many alchemists in the hidden world could not do anything about. If she could heal this injury, it meant that the people from the various sects could explore that place in the future. The forbidden area in the land of the fallen immortals. It was impossible for Chen Tong to not know what this represented. At this moment, Bai Suqing shifted her gaze to him. Chen Tong, didn't you say that you want to kneel and crawl around the Sky Yuan sect 3 times? She sneered and looked at Chen Tong. You can start now. Or do you need me to ask someone to invite you over? Bai Suqing's face was cold. Chen Tong had been targeting the Grand Supreme Dean and Luo Qingtong since the beginning. He had invited so many elders of the Sky Yuan sect to be witnesses. He probably did not expect this to happen, right? Since he had given her a handle, if she did not make use of it, wouldn't she be letting down his good intentions? Bai Suqing sneered and glanced at the elders of the Sky Yuan sect who were invited by Chen Tong. Elders, you've all heard what Chen Tong said just now. We didn't force him to say that. He said it himself. If that's the case, you have to admit defeat. Bai Suqing used the words that Chen Tong said to the Grand Supreme Dean to stop him. She said coldly, Elder Chen, please go ahead. Bai Suqing did not even want to call him senior brother. She was afraid of dirtying her mouth. Chen Tong's actions were seriously too disgusting. Chen Tong's face was ghastly pale. He did not expect things would turn out this way. What he said earlier was just a casual taunt. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would really cure Bai Suqing? Not only that, but it also helped her recover her cultivation, raising her strength to a whole new level. Now, he have no way to back down. Chen Tongs to Chen Tongs, said Luo Qingtong's Chen, as said Luo's. She quietly pulled Bai Suqing's sleeve. Say she's to the Lin Immortals, said Luo, said no. Said Luo Lin's, said Lin. Bai Suqing frowned slightly. The Grand Supreme Dean, who was beside her, also looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise. He did not know what Lin was up to. Would she really not pursue Chen Tong's matter? That bastard wanted to catch them just now. Chapter 1971. Moreover, this girl's character had never been so forgiving and repaying evil with good. Had her character changed? The Grand Supreme Dean and Bai Suqing looked surprised. Yi Qianxian, who was beside Luo Qingtong, looked calm. Based on his understanding of Luo Qingtong, she definitely had more to say. Chen Tong would not be able to refute and could only do as she said. Let him go. No way. Sure enough, after Luo Qingtong spoke, she said timidly, Mistress, forget it. Your Tian Yuan sect is a first-class faction. Elder Chen Tong said that this is not a place where we can act wildly. It's not appropriate for us to continue like this. Aren't we just being wronged and almost arrested? It's okay. If we continue like this, what if the Grand Supreme Dean is driven out of the Tian Yuan sect? This will harm you and the Grand Supreme Dean. We'd better not talk too much here. Otherwise, I'm afraid we won't be able to walk out of here. After all, this is a first-class faction. Luo Qingtong's words hit the nail on the head. She kept saying that they were a first-class faction. She even said that they did not dare to speak too much. If the people of the Tian Yuan sect thought that they were causing trouble, they would not be able to walk out of here. These words made the elders of the Tian Yuan sect feel indescribably awkward. Luo Qingtong's words sounded so compromising. However, in fact, she did not do anything wrong. On the contrary, Chen Tong deliberately targeted them and even arrested them in order to deal with the Grand Supreme Dean. Luo Qingtong had cured Bai Suqing. If such a person had to suffer such treatment in the Sky Yuan sect, and they dared not speak out despite their anger, how bad would the reputation of the Sky Yuan sect be when it got out? Moreover, Bai Suqing's injury that Luo Qingtong cured was not ordinary. Luo Qingtong could cure this injury and restore the other party's cultivation. This meant that the people of the Tian Yuan sect could enter the land of the deceased immortals and explore that place without having to worry about the inexplicable power there. The elders of the Tian Yuan sect, naturally, could not allow such a person to be prejudiced against the Tian Yuan sect. Thinking about this, one of the elders of the Tianyuan sect suddenly said, "Chen Tong, this is all because of you. Since you've said that, then just do as you've said. This is to prevent others from saying that the people of the Tianyuan sect go back on their words." That's right. Another elder of the Tianyuan sect also said, "The Tianyuan sect's Chen Tong was the Tianyuan sect." Since that was the case, he had to bear the consequences of what he said. They couldn't possibly cover up for him in front of Bai Suqing and the others, right? The Tianyuan of 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 course. He was still thinking of how to get out of this and had already thought of a way. He was prepared to let the elders, who were here as witnesses, exonerate him. After all, as the chief disciple of the Tianyuan sect, it would be very embarrassing if he really knelt and crawled around the Tianyuan sect 3 times. He thought that the elders of the Tianyuan sect would let Bai Suqing and the rest settle the matter peacefully in order to avoid such a thing. At that time, he would just apologize. However, he did not expect Luo Qingtong to be so treacherous. By retreating in order to advance, she had blocked all his leeway. Chapter 1972. The group of elders opened their mouths to demand that he fulfill his promise. Chen Tong was truly angered until he almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. However, this was not enough. When Luo Qingtong saw him glaring at her, she immediately took 2 steps back and hugged Yi Qianxin's arm. She said in shock, no need. We don't dare to ask Elder Chen Tong to fulfill his promise. He said that in the absence of a sect leader, he is the most powerful person in the Tianyuan sect, and the sect leader will die sooner or later. The entire Tianyuan sect will be under his control in the future. All the elders have to listen to him. Otherwise, when he becomes the sect leader, he will kill whoever he dislikes. No one will stand up for us. Even if there is, they will die miserably in the future. We and the Grand Supreme Dean have no intention of going against him. The Grand Supreme Dean also doesn't want to return to the position of the first disciple. Elders, please don't punish him. Otherwise, it will not be good for you and us in the future. The moment Luo Qingtong said this, Chen Tong could no longer hold back the mouthful of blood in his throat and spat it out. Nonsense. Bastard. What nonsense are you spouting? Chen Tong was about to die from anger. He looked at the unfriendly gazes of the elders around him and was instantly flustered and exasperated. I didn't say those words at all. Yes. Luo Qingtong quickly said, Elder Chen Tong didn't say those words. I'm sorry, elders. I was confused and said the wrong thing. Luo Qingtong looked very nervous. She said, Elders, please don't take my words to heart. Also, can we forget about punishing Elder Chen Tong? The Grand Supreme Dean and I will leave this place immediately. Please don't pursue this matter. The more Luo Qingtong spoke, the thicker the taste of blood in Chen Tong's throat became. Luo Qingtong was not clarifying things for him. It clearly confirmed what she had said. Sure enough, there were still some elders who looked doubtful and didn't believe what Luo Qingtong said before. But at this meeting, they also showed an angry look. There was no other reason. Chen Tong was very likely to say these words in front of Luo Qingtong and the others. After all, in his eyes, Luo Qingtong and the others were not even worth mentioning. And the reason why Luo Qingtong was so scared that she didn't even dare to pursue the matter was because she was afraid that he would take revenge after he took over the Sky Yuan sect. That was why he told Bai Suqing not to pursue the matter when he was in the right. Otherwise, based on what Chen Tong had said earlier, and the fact that they had asked the other party to fulfill his promise, no matter what, she had to vent her anger first. The group of Heavenly Yuan sect elders looked at Chen Tong with an unfriendly expression. I didn't expect Chen Tong to have such thoughts. That's right. To think that he still remembers what happened to us. He's preparing to take revenge after he takes over. The elders of the Heavenly Yuan sect were furious. It wasn't as if they had never had any disagreements with Chen Tong before. More or less, they had some conflicts and differences of opinion with him. But they didn't expect Chen Tong to remember all of it, and was preparing to take revenge after he took over. How could this be? In particular, when they thought about how they had just asked him to fulfill his promise, did he remember what they had said and was preparing to make them die miserably in the future? Chapter 1973. If Chun Tong took revenge on them after becoming the sect leader of the Sky Yuan sect, it would be impossible for them to guard against him. No, they had to stop this. The elders of the Sky Yuan sect felt a sense of crisis. They instantly turned their attention to the Grand Supreme Dean. Zhu Yi was the former chief disciple of the Sky Yuan sect. If he had not been injured in the land of the fallen immortals and lost his strength, Chun Tong would not have been promoted. Since Chun Tong already held a grudge against them, what was wrong with changing the chief disciple? In terms of strength and experience, Zhu Yi was not inferior to Chun Tong. Moreover, he was more suitable than Chun Tong to become the chief disciple of the Sky Yuan sect and take charge of the Sky Yuan sect. After all, he was the person Bai Suqing liked. As the elders of the Sky Yuan sect thought of this, they immediately reached a consensus. They looked at each other. Then, an elder of the Sky Yuan sect said coldly, "Humph, the Sky Yuan sect is not a place where anyone can do whatever they want." They glanced coldly at Chun Tong, who felt a chill in his heart. Then, they looked at Luo Qingtong and the others and said, "As for the promise you made, he naturally has to fulfill it. Moreover, he is not the only one who could be the chief disciple of the Sky Yuan sect. It's too early to talk about inheriting the Sky Yuan sect." That's right. Another elder of the Sky Yuan sect also said coldly, "Zhu Yi used to be the chief disciple of the Sky Yuan sect. His actions have always been in line with our wishes. He just had to leave the sect because of some accidents. Now that he has returned and cleared up the misunderstanding with Bai Suqing, he should return to the position of the chief disciple. As for Chun Tong's temporary position, we will jointly request the sect leader to remove it in a few days. In the future, Zhu Yi will be the new chief disciple of the Sky Yuan sect and the person who will inherit the Sky Yuan sect." That's right. The elders of the Sky Yuan sect echoed in unison. Hearing their voices, Chun Tong couldn't suppress the sweet taste in his throat no matter how hard he tried. He trembled as he looked at the elders who were speaking in unison. Seeing them say that his years as the chief disciple were all temporary, he could not breathe for a long time. "You." He raised his hand and pointed at the elders of the Sky Yuan sect, but he could not utter a single harsh word. It wasn't that he couldn't say it, but that he couldn't say it either. If he said something harsh, wouldn't that prove what Luo Qingtong said before? He had a grudge against the elders, so he was going to settle it after he took control of the Heaven Yuan sect. Luo Qingtong's words were not completely wrong. Chun Tong did have such a thought in his mind, but even if he did, he couldn't expose it in front of others. However, because of his arrogance and willfulness towards Luo Qingtong and the others, no one would listen to him even if he told the truth. Chun Tong coughed up blood, and Luo Qingtong's next words made his eyes go black, and he almost fell to the ground. The young girl was overjoyed. Really? The Grand Principal would be the first disciple in the future? Can I still ask him to keep his promise? She pointed at Chun Tong. Of course. The elders of the Sky Yuan sect answered very straightforwardly. Chapter 1974. In the end, Chun Tong was carried away. He had set up this trap so that he could chase the Grand Supreme Dean out of the Sky Yuan sect in an open and above-board manner. He wanted to eliminate all future troubles. However, no one had expected that he would be the unlucky one in the end. He had made such a big fuss and invited all the elders of the Sky Yuan sect. In the end, he was the one who ended up in a sorry state. Not only that, he had even lost his position as the chief disciple. If he had known this would happen, he would never have made such a bet with Luo Qingtong and the rest. Originally, the Grand Supreme Dean did not have the chance to return to the Sky Yuan sect and become the chief disciple. It was he who had given her the chance. In the end, Luo Qingtong had turned the tables on him. At this point, how could Chun Tong hold himself back? He was so angry that he fainted on the spot. As for the Grand Supreme Dean, he had been staring at Luo Qingtong with his mouth wide open ever since she opened her mouth. Oh my God, this evil doctor child. Previously, he had thought that Luo Qingtong felt that this was the Sky Yuan sect, and it would not be easy to deal with Qingtong. Therefore, she was prepared to let Qingtong off peacefully. At that time, he was prepared to tell Luo Qingtong not to be afraid and to argue as they were in the right. However, who would have thought that Luo Qingtong was not going to let Qingtong off? She was clearly going to kill Qingtong. This move of retreating in order to advance was really amazing. The Grand Supreme Dean had already seen that when Bai Suqing opened her mouth, a few elders had already frowned. They probably felt that if Qingtong were to be punished according to what they had said, it would damage the image of the Sky Yuan sect. At that time, those elders had already been prepared to speak. However, when Luo Qingtong spoke, those elders suddenly stopped talking. This little child of the evil doctor was simply amazing. If they were aggressive and insisted that Qingtong fulfill his promise, their image in front of the elders of the Sky Yuan sect would definitely not be good, especially since he had not been in the Heavenly Yuan sect all these years. Qingtong's position here was much more stable than his. At that time, if the elders of the Heavenly Yuan sect stood up for Qingtong for the sake of the Heavenly Yuan sect's image, even if they insisted that Qingtong fulfill his promise, Qingtong might not agree. Moreover, he could easily shirk this debt. But Luo Qingtong's move was different. Immediately, Qingtong stood against the group of Sky Yuan sect elders. He did not even have the chance to refute before he was convicted of a crime. Who asked him to be so arrogant before? Are you all right now? You've dug a hole for yourself. The Grand Supreme Dean chuckled. He didn't expect Luo Qingtong to have such a trick up her sleeve. Not only did he cause Qingtong's death, he also allowed Qingtong to regain his position as the chief disciple. Oh my God, this little child of the evil doctor was really something. The Grand Supreme Dean felt that he had made the right decision in inviting Luo Qingtong to the Sky Yuan sect. Otherwise, he did not know how long he would have to struggle with Qingtong. Qingtong's position and identity in the Sky Yuan sect were deeply rooted. Even if the Grand Supreme Dean had the support of Bai Suqing and the Sky Yuan sect leader, he might not be able to regain his position as the chief disciple. He might even be hindered secretly by Qingtong and be unable to smoothly return to the Sky Yuan sect and be together with Bai Suqing. Now, everything had been resolved. Little child of the evil doctor, you're really my lucky star. Chapter 1975. It was as if a dozen buckets of ice water had been poured over him on a hot summer day. He was so happy that he almost lost his sense of direction. If Yu Qianxian had not been standing beside Luo Qingtong, he might have run over and hugged Luo Qingtong. Of course, the result would have been very tragic, because Bai Suqing was beside him. Bai Suqing looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise. She had the same thought as the Grand Supreme Dean. She thought that Luo Qingtong was in the Sky Yuan sect, so she wanted to keep the peace and did not want to be calculative with Qingtong. She did not expect that behind her there were so many traps waiting for Qingtong. When Bai Suqing recalled the scene where Qingtong was so angry that he vomited blood and fainted, she pursed her lips into a smile. Her beautiful face did not lose its heroic spirit and sharpness. Zhu Yi's student was really interesting. Her way of doing things was very impressive. Moreover, she had her own way of doing things. Not only did she not use any of their strength to teach Qingtong a lesson, but she also helped them a lot. This favor was not something that could be repaid by Zhu Yi, who had helped her a few times before. Thinking of this, Bai Suqing suddenly said to the elders, "Elders, you have seen clearly what happened today." Qingtong doubted Qingtong's medical skills for no reason. In order to save me, she spent a lot of energy and effort. If she was not Zhu Yi's student, she would not have worked so hard. Now, she's being slandered in our sect. It is really disappointing. Elders, don't you think that we should compensate her well? Otherwise, who would dare to take action when invited by the Sky Yuan sect in the future? After all, She did not receive any reward, but was still slandered and was almost arrested and thrown into the dungeon. Bai Suqing's face was full of sarcasm. When the elders of the Sky Yuan sect heard this, they were speechless. This was indeed the case. Luo Qingtong was invited to treat Bai Suqing's injuries. Not only did the people of the Sky Yuan sect not treat her with courtesy, but they also almost arrested her and threw her into the dungeon. This was something that Chun Tong had clearly said earlier. They couldn't possibly pretend that it didn't happen. Hearing this, the group of Sky Yuan sect elders immediately looked at Bai Suqing and said, "Suqing, how do you think we should compensate for this?" The elders knew that Bai Suqing wanted to stand up for Luo Qingtong and the others to get some benefits. However, it was true that Qingtong was in the wrong. The Heavenly Yuan sect was in the wrong. Secondly, Luo Qingtong could cure Bai Suqing's injury. For them, it was worth winning over. If possible, they naturally didn't want her to complain to them. As for Luo Qingtong, she raised her eyebrows and looked at Bai Suqing when she spoke. The latter winked at her, indicating for her not to speak. He then turned to the elders of the Heavenly Yuan sect and said, "I think we should give this girl the title of honorary guest elder. Otherwise, I'm afraid that some shameless people will harm her. Of course, if you can solve this problem for her, then pretend that I didn't say anything." The problem that Bai Suqing was talking about was naturally Chun Tong. All the elders were well aware of the situation. However, it was impossible to solve Chun Tong's problem. Chun Tong did not do anything to harm the Sky Yuan sect. Moreover, he was an elder of the Sky Yuan sect. Chapter 1976. How could the elders of Sky Yuan sect lay a hand on her? Moreover, there was no crime. As the elders of Sky Yuan sect thought of this, they could only agree to Bai Suqing's request. All right, from today onwards, Luo Qingtong. At this moment, Bai Suqing continued. Luo Qingtong is the honorary guest elder of Sky Yuan sect. In a few days, we will report this matter to the sect leader and send the token of the honorary guest elder over. One of the elders of Sky Yuan sect's main peaks said, basically, with the approval and agreement of the elders of the various peaks, and if the sect master did not have any objections, then Luo Qingtong's honorary guest elder position would be secured. The sect leader of Sky Yuan sect had always regarded the Grand Supreme Dean as his son, and Bai Suqing was his daughter. How could he object to this matter? Since the elder of Sky Yuan sect had spoken and the other elders had no objections, this matter was considered a success. When Luo Qingtong saw this scene, she raised her eyebrows. Honorary guest elder? When Luo Qingtong came to the hidden world previously, she had heard of this title. It was said that this was a very precious and rare title among the sects in the hidden world. Generally, only those who had made great contributions to the sects will be able to enjoy this title. With this title, it was equivalent to having the identity and authority of an elder with real power in the sects. However, one did not need to do anything for the sects and did not need to listen to the sect's orders. In other words, one only needed to enjoy the rites and did not need to perform any duties. Luo Qingtong did not expect Bai Suqing to get such a title for her. After Bai Suqing sent off the elders of Sky Yuan sect, she turned around and saw the expression on Bai Suqing's face. She smiled and said, "This is what you deserve. If it were someone else, even if I made such a request, they would not agree to it. How could the title of honorary guest elder of a first-class sect be so easy to obtain?" Bai Suqing naturally knew that rather than saying that she had gotten this title for Luo Qingtong, it was better to say that the elders had taken a liking to the fact that Luo Qingtong could treat her injuries and deliberately push the boat along with the current. It was the same before. The reason why those elders immediately stood against Qingtong was because of the fact that Luo Qingtong had healed her injuries. The weight of it was enough. Otherwise, even if they believed what Luo Qingtong said about Qingtong, they wouldn't support them so easily. Bai Suqing was very clear about this. That was why she suggested to them that she wanted to give Luo Qingtong the title of honorary guest elder. She was sure that they would agree. unless they could think of a better way to compensate Luo Qingtong. Little girl, you probably don't know what it means for you to be able to heal my injuries, restore my strength, and advance to the next level. Bai Suqing asked Luo Qingtong and the others to follow her back to her room. Then, she said to Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian, "Mistress, you must have gotten this injury in the land of the fallen immortals, right?" Luo Qingtong looked at Bai Suqing and raised her eyebrows slightly. Chapter 1977. You guessed it. Bai Suqing looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise, then said, "My injuries, including your Grand Supreme Deans, were all from that place in the land of the deceased immortals." She thought that Yi Qianxian was also one of the Grand Supreme Dean's students. Yi Qianxian did not refute this. What others thought had nothing to do with him. He came to the Tianyuan sect this time only to prevent Luo Qingtong from being bullied. In fact, if the elders of the Tianyuan sect had not sided with Chuntong, perhaps Yi Qianxian would have already taken action. At this moment, he held Luo Qingtong with one hand and did not make sound. Luo Qingtong asked, "That place? Mistress, is the place you mentioned very different from the others in the land of the deceased immortals?" Luo Qingtong came to the Tianyuan sect this time to obtain more first-hand information about the land of the deceased immortals. This way, she would be more confident when she entered it. Prepare before the rain. When the army was about to march, the provisions would arrive first. Luo Qingtong would never regret her lack of preparation when things were about to happen. If that was the case, she would have died countless times in her previous life. No one was born to be calculative. All of Luo Qingtong's meticulous plans were built on the various lessons she had experienced in her previous life. She had grown up after escaping from death countless times, so she rarely made mistakes now, because in her previous life, the price of making a mistake was likely to be her death. She was arrogant, proud, and unscrupulous. That was because she was careful and confident enough. She was not arrogant and conceited. Bai Suqing nodded. That place is a forbidden area in the land of the deceased immortals. I think you must have heard about the land of the deceased immortals. Bai Suqing looked at Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian and said, she couldn't see through Yi Qianren's strength, but she knew Luo Qingtong's strength because the latter didn't deliberately hide it and revealed it in front of her. As a saint king, Luo Qingtong was fully qualified to enter the land of the fallen immortals. As for Yi Qianxian, she probably couldn't sense it because he was too weak. Bai Suqing thought. Yes, I know a little. Luo Qingtong nodded. It said that the land of the fallen immortals was created because the experts from outside the realm were fighting for something. That's right. Bai Suqing looked at her and nodded. Since you know all this, I'm sure you want to go in and check it out, right? The weakening of the aura of the land of the fallen immortals is coming. At that time, all the sect in the hidden world will go in and try their luck. You should come with us. With me and Zhu Yi here, you should be fine. As for the land of the fallen immortals, it was indeed formed because of this reason. And it said that the thing that the experts from outside the realm were fighting for was related to the divine beasts. Divine beasts? Luo Qingtong looked at Bai Suqing in surprise. Bai Suqing nodded. We don't know the details, but we can be sure that it is related to the divine beasts. Someone saw the shadow of the divine beasts in the forbidden area where your Grand Supreme Dean and I were injured, and the forbidden area we entered was indeed shrouded in an inexplicable pressure. The power there is stronger than anywhere else in the land of the fallen immortals. Chapter 1978. The aura left in our bodies was very violent. There were also terrifying claw marks on the ground. We weren't directly hit at that time. We were only swept by the claw wind. Otherwise, we might not have been able to return. And the most surprising thing is that the pressure and power there will change according to the strength of the person who enters. In other words, even if a person with the strength of a Saint Venerable goes in, if they aren't careful enough, they might be killed by the claw marks. Because that place is too terrifying. That's why we call that place a forbidden area. But if our guess is right, that place should be the core of the land of the fallen immortals. It's also the reason why the land of the fallen immortals was formed. The thing that many powerhouses from outside the domain are fighting for should be inside there. As Bai Suqing was speaking, Yi Qianqian's voice suddenly sounded. Since such a place exists, why didn't the people from the Star Alliance Hall go to take it? Bai Suqing looked at him in surprise when she heard his voice. You know about the Star Alliance Hall? Most people didn't know about the existence of the Star Alliance Hall. However, she didn't think too much about it. She just assumed that the Supreme Dean had accidentally leaked it before. The people from the Star Alliance Hall certainly wanted to take it, but the aura in the land of the fallen immortals repelled people from outside the domain. And even powerhouses from the true Spill Continent, those above the Saint Venerable realm, couldn't enter. Otherwise, they would die inexplicably. Bai Suqing said, the people from the Star Alliance Hall sent a lot of powerhouses in from the beginning. But without exception, none of them came out. Finally, a sub-hall master went in and didn't come out again. So, they didn't send anyone else in. Hearing this, Yi Qianxian suddenly frowned. People from outside the domain couldn't go in? Then, only Luo Qingtong and Su Yu could enter the land of the fallen mortals? All they could do was wait outside? Thinking of this, Yi Qianxian's expression suddenly became serious. He asked Bai Suqing, has the Star Alliance tried it? When Bai Suqing heard this, she looked at him with even more astonishment. Zhu even told you this? She looked at Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian and said, the Star Alliance has also sent experts here, but the aura contained in the land of the deceased immortals is in danger of collapsing and vanishing if it comes into contact with too much power. Therefore, that Star Alliance expert didn't force his way in. After that, no one from the Hall of Star Alliance entered. Yi Qianxian's frown deepened when he heard Bai Suqing's words. Luo Qingtong felt very strange. According to the conversation between Bai Suqing and Yi Qianxian, the Star Alliance Hall didn't seem to be a sect in the hidden world. Instead, it was a sub-hall built by a foreign organization called the Star Alliance. While she was guessing, Bai Suqing's voice sounded. But now, the people from the Star Alliance Hall have rekindled their hope in the land of the deceased immortals. Because the people from the beast-taming King's Valley obtained a treasure map. It said that it can lead to the center of the forbidden area. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong's expression suddenly became strange. The treasure map, obtained by the people from the beast-taming King's Valley? It can't be what I think it is, right? Chapter 1979. It is said that the map was originally obtained by the people of Celestial Palace, but it was snatched away by the people of beast-taming King's Valley. Luo Qingtong almost choked on her own saliva when she heard Bai Suqing's words. It was actually true. She didn't expect that framing the murder of the people of Celestial Palace to the people of beast-taming King's Valley would bring about such benefits. Luo Qingtong also didn't expect that the treasure map was actually related to the forbidden area in the land of the deceased immortals. Fortunately, she framed the people of beast-taming King's Valley. Otherwise, if those from Extreme Sky Palace were to track down the true Spill Continent, then even if Yi Qianren were to destroy them, it would still attract the attention of all the sects in the hidden worlds. At that time, it would really be a disaster for the secular world of the true Spill Continent. Not to mention the existence of her enemy, beast-taming King's Valley. The consequences would be even more unimaginable. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she felt very fortunate. She looked at Bai Suqing and asked, did the people of beast-taming King's Valley give the treasure map to the people of Star Alliance? Speaking of this, Luo Qingtong was really curious. Others might not know, but she was very clear about it. The people of beast-taming King's Valley didn't have this map. That map was in her hands. Of course not. Bai Suqing looked at her and shook her head. The people of beast-taming King's Valley refused to take out the map. Even when we, the first-class sects, sought cooperation with them, they refused. Because of this, they offended a large number of people of the hidden world. Because my father was in seclusion to break through, our Sky Yuan sect didn't go to beast-taming King's Valley. But I heard that the other first-class sect sovereigns went. The people of Star Alliance also went in person to mediate between beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. But the people of beast-taming King's Valley didn't give face. It is said that when the people of Star Alliance left, their expressions were very bad. They had already publicly supported the people of Celestial Palace. When Luo Qingtong heard this, she suddenly burst out laughing. She couldn't hold it in any longer. It wasn't that the beast-taming King's Valley didn't want to give him face, but they didn't even have the map in their hands. Bai Suqing did not know about this. I don't know why the beast-taming King's Valley would make such a decision. She paused for a moment before continuing with a confused expression. Now that everyone knows that the map is in their hands, they won't share it. As long as they're willing to bring everyone into the Forbidden Zone, it'll be up to their own abilities to decide who gets what. They rejected the people from the first-class sects and even offended the people from the Star Alliance. When the land of the deceased immortals opens, won't we still be able to follow them to their destination? Unless they don't want that treasure. Otherwise, wouldn't the result be the same? At most, the losses of the other sects would be slightly greater. Bai Suqing couldn't understand why the beast-taming King's Valley would make such a decision. He offended a bunch of people from the Hidden World for no reason, and even offended the people from the Star Alliance Hall. How would they benefit in the future? When Luo Qingtong heard this, she immediately held back her laughter and coughed lightly. Cough. Maybe there's a hole in his head. When she said this, she suddenly couldn't hold it in anymore and laughed until she collapsed in Yi Qianxian's arms. Oh my God! Chapter 1980. Yi Qianxian looked at the woman who fell into his arms with a smile and felt extremely helpless. This woman is really infected by Luo Qingtong's smile. His cold face hidden behind the dark golden mask also revealed a faint smile. Even the depression he felt when he heard that they couldn't enter the land of the deceased immortals dissipated a lot. It would be best if this woman could continue to be so carefree and happy. As for the land of the deceased immortals, Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes slightly. If Luo Qingtong was really in danger, so what if he destroyed that place? Just because the Star Alliance didn't do it, it didn't mean that he wouldn't do it. Girl, your smile is so. The Grand Dean looked at Luo Qingtong's smile, and his lips twitched. He thought for a long time before he found a word to describe Luo Qingtong's smile. Treacherous. What are you thinking about? The Grand Dean would never have thought that the predicament the people of beast-taming King Valley were facing at this moment was completely because of Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't say it out loud. Firstly, the treasure map was very important. Although she trusted the Grand Dean and the others, it was better if fewer people knew about it. Secondly, the matter of tricking beast-taming King Valley was too complicated. It was a long story, and she was too lazy to explain. She smiled and waved her hand. After a long while, he finally stopped smiling. He looked at the Grand Dean and Bai Suqing and said, "In that case, everyone wants to go to the forbidden area to obtain the treasures." Yes, Bai Suqing nodded. So you know, why did all the elders side with you just now? It's because you can remove the inexplicable power that blasted into our bodies in the forbidden area. The disciples who entered the forbidden area were lucky enough to come out of that violent power. Those who weren't lucky, like us, were either half-crippled or completely crippled. Basically, they can't use their full strength in this lifetime. Under normal circumstances, people like us who were injured by that power would either leave the sect and live the rest of their lives alone. As she spoke, she glanced at the Grand Supreme Dean. Then, she continued, "Or you could be like me and pass on your strength to the younger generation and then commit suicide. There is no third path." However, that was in the past. Now that you have appeared, we have seen a third path. That means he's safe and sound and can even recover and improve his strength. After hearing Bai Suqing's words, Luo Qingtong finally understood why her plan went so smoothly today. The elders of the Sky Yuan sect were too cooperative, leaving her with no way to deal with them. So, it's because he's interested in my ability to heal by Suqing and improve her strength? As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she smiled. That would be great news for her. If she could rely on this to enter the land of the deceased immortals with the people of the Sky Yuan sect, Su Yu and the rest would be safe. As Luo Qingtong was thinking, she heard Bai Suqing say, "So, I want to ask, Qingtong, is it because you were lucky that you were able to turn that violent power into my strength? Or is it because you can really do it, regardless of whether it's me or anyone else?" Bai Suqing called Luo Qingtong and the rest in to ask about this in private, so that they would know. Chapter 1981. Luo Qingtong immediately understood the meaning behind Bai Suqing's words. She smiled and said, "Mistress, I know what you want to say." She said to Bai Suqing, "It's true that I can dissolve that violent power for anyone, but I wouldn't do it for others like you, mistress." The moment Luo Qingtong said that, Bai Suqing immediately sensed the meaning behind her words. She won't do it, not can't do it. In other words, Luo Qingtong could transform the force for others like she did, but she was unwilling to do it. Bai Suqing understood in her heart. "Okay, I'll help you smooth things over." Bai Suqing was surprised that Luo Qingtong had such a magical ability to transform the violent force into their own strength. But since Luo Qingtong was unwilling to expose it, Bai Suqing would not force her. She would not pry into her secret. This was one of the most basic principles of being a human. Moreover, Luo Qingtong had helped her. Moreover, she had helped the Grand Supreme Dean to recover his cultivation. Without her, she and Zhu Yi would not be able to continue their relationship. Bai Suqing naturally respected Luo Qingtong's decision. As for the faction, it was enough that Luo Qingtong could dissolve the violent force. In this way, they would have a guarantee when they walked in the forbidden area. As long as they could remove the force in time, it would not affect their cultivation at all. There was no need to transform the force into their own strength. In that case, wouldn't everyone fight to be the first to enter the forbidden area and hope that the force could invade their bodies? As Bai Suqing thought of this, she was shocked. She suddenly understood why Luo Qingtong said she won't do it. This ability was really too heaven-defying. If Luo Qingtong announced that she had such an ability to transform the violent force into a cultivator's strength, if that was the case, the sect would do everything in their power to keep her in the sect, so that she could become a strength converter for them. After all, as long as Luo Qingtong was there, she could convert the terrifying power into strength. Wouldn't that be faster than cultivating on his own? Luo Qingtong's ability was too heaven-defying. Bai Suqing didn't know how Luo Qingtong did it, but once this ability was exposed, it would inevitably cause an uproar. It could be said that the other party trusted her and the Grand Supreme Dean very much. Otherwise, he wouldn't have exposed such a big secret in order to save her. Wasn't she afraid that he would tell others about this? Bai Suqing's heart was moved. What she didn't know was that since Luo Qingtong dared to expose it, she wasn't afraid that she would tell others. Moreover, she believed in her own judgment. At the very least, she had misjudged him. Wasn't there still Yi Qianxian? The man said that Luo Qingtong didn't need to hide her ability when she was by his side. She could use it whenever she wanted. If the people of the Sky Yuan sect were really greedy like what Bai Suqing thought, they wouldn't even know how they died. Luo Qingtong could even mess with the people of the beast-taming King Valley and the Celestial Palace. Why would she be afraid of the Sky Yuan sect? If she was afraid, she wouldn't have accepted the Grand Supreme Dean's invitation. She would naturally return the favor that she owed. Chapter 1982. Luo Qingtong looked at Bai Suqing and smiled. "Thank you, mistress." Since Bai Suqing was so protective of her, she naturally wouldn't let her suffer. "I'm willing to help the Sky Yuan sect neutralize the strange power from the Forbidden Zone. Of course, this is all for the sake of Mistress and the Grand Supreme Dean." Also, Luo Qingtong smiled and said, "I have another team. When we enter the land of the deceased immortals, I hope to be able to join the Sky Yuan Sect's team. The Sky Yuan Sect will provide the immortal jade bones that they will use to enter the land of the deceased immortals. In exchange, Luo Qingtong smiled at Bai Suqing and said, I will purify the power of the immortal jade bones for the Sky Yuan Sect's people. The immortal jade bones needed to enter the land of the deceased immortals. The stronger the cultivator was, and the longer they stayed in the land of the deceased immortals, the better the quality and quantity of the immortal jade bones. This was the only way to perfectly resist the corrosive aura in the land of the deceased immortals. Luo Qingtong couldn't be with Su Yu and the others all the time. The Breeze Pavilion's resources were definitely not enough to support Su Yu and the others to stay in the land of the deceased immortals for too long. To put it bluntly, the immortal jade bones might not even be enough for Luo Qingtong alone. However, with the support of the Sky Yuan Sect, Luo Qingtong didn't have to worry so much. As for purifying the power of the immortal jade bones, this was a win-win situation for Luo Qingtong. There was nothing to hide. The more immortal jade bones the Sky Yuan Sect obtained, the more immortal jade bones she needed to purify, the more luxuriant the ancient heavenly spirit would grow. Luo Qingtong also realized that as the ancient heavenly spirit would grow, the ancient heavenly spirit would begin to grow. After the 10th leaf grew, its growth slowed down. It had yet to grow an 11th leaf. Perhaps the death chi in the immortal jade bones was no longer enough to nourish it. Under such circumstances, Luo Qingtong naturally needed more immortal jade bones to purify it. And the Heavenly Yuan Sect was an excellent way to do so. The moment Luo Qingtong's words left her mouth, Bai Suqing and the Grand Supreme Dean gasped. Especially the Grand Supreme Dean. He finally understood why the people of the Breeze Pavilion had refused to let go of Luo Qingtong and the others. After that, the people of Celestial Palace could not help but show up. So it was because Luo Qingtong could purify the immortal jade bone. He had thought that they were here for the immortal jade bone in the space at the bottom of the cliff. Oh my God, how many more abilities does this evil Dr. Kid have? At this moment, Bai Suqing was glad that she was in her boudoir and had set up layers of barriers to ask Luo Qingtong, are you sure you can purify the power of the immortal jade bone? She asked in disbelief. The impact of this matter on her was no less than when Luo Qingtong was able to dissolve and transform the power in her body for her. I'm sure. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she took out a piece of immortal jade bone that she had purified and showed it to Bai Suqing. Master's wife, look. Damn. No wonder that Kid Machin Ye's strength has soared recently, as if he was injected with chicken blood. Did you give these things to him as well? The Grand Supreme Dean stared at her. This evil Dr. Kid actually did not tell him about such good things. And Machin Ye, that stinky kid, actually kept it from him all this time. Luo Qingtong smiled, but did not say anything. She did not give it to the Grand Supreme Dean because she was wary of him. Chapter 1983. He was the Grand Dean of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin. If she gave it to him, what would he do if the people of the Academy asked her for it? Luo Qingtong didn't have so much stock to give it to him. She could give it to Machin Ye because he defended her without hesitation when Feng Luan attacked the two dynasties. If the Empire of Qin hadn't diverted some of Great Yang's attention at that time, with all the armies pressing on the border, the people of Great Chu wouldn't have been able to hold on until she came back. Luo Qingtong had to return this favor. As for the others, she couldn't care so much. Luo Qingtong was very clear about the difference between her own people and others. Okay, I know. The Grand Dean was depressed. At this moment, he also understood why Luo Qingtong didn't give it to him. She was afraid that he would use it for personal gain, but it was very likely that he would do so at that time. After all, he had deliberately made Yi Qianxian an instructor for the students of the Sacred Academy. Thinking of this, the Grand Dean suddenly snorted and didn't say a word. After confirming that the purified celestial jade bone given by Luo Qingtong was correct, Bai Suqing immediately took a deep breath and said to Luo Qingtong, Little Qingtong, this is really a big deal. You. She deliberated for a moment and then said to Luo Qingtong, I have to discuss this with my father. In addition, when the time comes, use Zhu Yi's and my name to announce to the public that you shouldn't interfere. We will sever all ties with you regarding this matter. Bai Suqing said resolutely. This wasn't to take advantage of Luo Qingtong or to take the credit from Luo Qingtong. It was to protect Luo Qingtong. This was a big deal. If it was said that Luo Qingtong had dissolved the violent energy in their bodies, it was still within the scope of medical skills. But the matter of the purified celestial jade bone, anyone who knew about it would want to get a share of it. Even within the Heavenly Yuan sect, there were many disagreements, not to mention the outside world. In the face of absolute benefits, there would definitely be people who would have ideas about Luo Qingtong. Bai Suqing put this matter under her, in the dean's name, in order to protect Luo Qingtong. Okay. Luo Qingtong smiled and nodded. When she told Bai Suqing about this matter, she already knew that Bai Suqing would make such an arrangement. Although she was not afraid of any threats, it was better to avoid trouble. She appreciated Bai Suqing's arrangement. Then I'll have to trouble mistress. It's no trouble. Bai Suqing heaved a sigh of relief. Then she smiled at Luo Qingtong and said, regarding this matter, our Heavenly Yuan sect has taken advantage of you. Zhu Yi has been unreliable all his life, but today he is finally reliable for once. Bai Suqing's words made the Grand Supreme Dean's lips twitch. No one would diss themselves like that. In front of the younger generation, did he still want his face? There was a burst of grief in the Grand Supreme Dean's heart. However, he was already a henpecked husband. In front of Bai Suqing, he was a coward. He didn't dare to utter a word. He just kept muttering with his mouth. Who is unreliable? Who is unreliable? Can I fool you if I'm unreliable? Luo Qingtong looked at his muttering appearance and found it funny. The Grand Supreme Dean probably didn't know that she could read lips. Should he tell this to Master's wife? Luo Qingtong thought about it seriously. The Grand Supreme Dean still didn't know that he was on the verge of death. He was still muttering. Chapter 1984. With their help, Luo Qingtong was happy and relaxed. She even asked about Su Yu and the others. When the land of the deceased immortals opened, she was going to pick them up and go to the land of the deceased immortals together. After knowing that Su Yu and the others were most likely in the Breeze Pavilion, which had been destroyed by Luo Qingtong, Bai Suqing waved her hand and asked people to support Su Yu and the others in the name of the Sky Yuan sect. In the future, the land in the Breeze Pavilion would belong to Tian Xia openly. Her action would save Su Yu and the others a lot of trouble in the future. At least they didn't have to worry about the forces and sects under the Breeze Pavilion being dissatisfied, saving Su Yu and the others the trouble of making a move. The rest of the time could be used for cultivation. While Bai Suqing and the others were busy dealing with all kinds of things, Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian stayed in the courtyard. Luo Qingtong borrowed many books about the land of the deceased immortals from the Sky Yuan sect's library. Soon, she learned a lot about the land of the deceased immortals, including the valley that the people of the beast-taming king's valley always went to. Broken Star Valley. Luo Qingtong's lips curved slightly. She closed the book in her hand. It was an open secret that the people of the beast-taming king's valley always went to the Broken Star Valley every time they entered the land of the deceased immortals. But that place was always heavily surrounded by the people of the beast-taming king's valley. Other people couldn't enter even if they wanted to. They only knew that it was called the Broken Star Valley. Other than that, they knew nothing about it. They didn't even know what the people of the beast-taming king's valley were doing. But Luo Qingtong knew. The secret of the fifth beast-taming art. Luo Qingtong chuckled. She had a hunch that the fifth beast-taming art was the purest part of the beast-taming king's valley's beast-taming art. And the previous four beast-taming arts were all flawed. As long as he could find the fifth incantation, he would be able to make up for the flaws of the first four incantations. If she wanted to help the golden-winged great condor and the others break their contracts with the beast-taming king's valley, The key point should be the fifth beast-taming art. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Once she found the fifth beast-taming incantation, she would return the grudge of the beast-taming King's Valley, as well as Luo Jinghong's, to the beast-taming King's Valley. Time passed quickly. After Luo Qingtong had stayed in the Sky Yuan sect for almost half a month, an extremely bright light suddenly erupted from the place where the fallen immortals were. Then the aura on the other side began to vibrate. Rumble, following the vibrations of those auras. The black mist that shrouded the land of the fallen immortals began to shrink and fade. The ferocious yin qi in the surroundings also began to weaken under this violent tremor. Little girl Qingtong, Bai Suqing and Grand Supreme Dean, appeared in Luo Qingtong's courtyard. They were followed by a group of disciples of the Sky Yuan sect. "We can go to the land of the fallen immortals now," she said to Luo Qingtong. Bai Suqing was dressed in a light green robe today. She was full of heroic spirit and didn't lose her gentle beauty. The aura around her body was even more solid than when she broke through previously. Obviously, during this period of time, someone helped her to consolidate her strength. Otherwise, with Bai Suqing's body that had just recovered, it was impossible for her to consolidate her strength so quickly. Chapter 1985. Sure enough, just as Luo Qingtong was thinking, Bai Suqing said, "My father has come out of seclusion and wants to see you." Luo Qingtong, don't be nervous. My father is very easy to talk to. In addition, we will also announce the fact that you can purify the power of the immortal jade bone today. Of course, we will hide your information and use Zhu Yi's and my name to replace it. Bai Suqing said to Luo Qingtong. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. Bai Suqing had already told her about this before. She did not have any objections. Okay. In addition, I have already sent people to pick up your subordinates. Don't worry. I have sent them to my father's trusted subordinates. Bai Suqing smiled. She already knew that Luo Qingtong had been given a hard time by those people sent by the Sky Yuan sect. It was not Luo Qingtong who told her, but she found out by herself. Those people were sent by Chan Tong to humiliate Luo Qingtong. He did not want Luo Qingtong to go up the mountain in the first place, so they were naturally arrogant. Those people who were going to pick up Su, you were personally arranged by Bai Suqing, so there would not be any mistakes. The group of people chatted as they walked toward the main sect meeting hall of the Sky Yuan sect. As for the elders of the Heavenly Yuan sect, they were already waiting there. The sect master of the Sky Yuan sect sat at the top of the hall. When he saw Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian, he immediately nodded slightly at Luo Qingtong. Then, out of the intuition of an expert, he subconsciously glanced at Yi Qianxian. The latter's handsome face was hidden behind a dark golden mask. His face was expressionless, and he did not look at the people present. He just sat beside Luo Qingtong with Bai Suqing. After the Heaven Branch sect master glanced at Yi Qianren, he was unable to see through Yi Qianren's cultivation level due to his own cultivation level. Just like Bai Suqing, he thought that Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong were the same students of the Grand Supreme Dean. It was just that his cultivation was low and he couldn't see through it. Therefore, he didn't pay attention to Yi Qianxian anymore. He looked at Luo Qingtong and asked, "Miss Luo, do you mind if I call you Qingtong?" His expression was gentle, and he looked at Luo Qingtong like an elder. This was because he had watched the Grand Supreme Dean grow up to the sect master of the Tian Yuan sect. The students of the Great Chief were no different from his descendants. Luo Qingtong looked at him and smiled. "Yes, sect master." She nodded at the sect master of the Tian Yuan sect in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. This attitude instantly attracted the attention of the elders of the Sky Yuan sect. Previously, when Luo Qingtong criticized Chun Tong in front of them, she was not so magnanimous. As the crowd thought so, they suddenly thought that Luo Qingtong did this on purpose to deal with Chun Tong. The latter was so angry that his eyes turned red. Chun Tong was also among the elders at this time. This was a major event of the Tian Yuan sect, and it was impossible for him not to be present. At this time, his expression was very bad. He looked at Luo Qingtong and the others with gritted teeth. Especially when he looked at the Grand Supreme Dean, he was so angry that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. After Chun Tong fainted, he was carried back to his place, but he had not fulfilled the promise he owed. The Grand Supreme Dean went to his place every day to find him and make him fulfill his promise. Chapter 1986. Moreover, in order to embarrass Luo Qingtong and the others, he had used his spiritual energy to amplify his voice so that everyone within a few hundred meters could hear him clearly. Under such circumstances, how could Chun Tong conceal it? He had no choice but to do as the Grand Supreme Dean said. Immediately, the news of Elder Chun Tong crawling on the ground like a dog and crawling around the Sky Yuan sect spread like wildfire in the Sky Yuan sect. Chun Tong's reputation was completely ruined. The Grand Supreme Dean was reinstated as the first disciple of the Sky Yuan sect under the request of the elders. Hearing this news, Chun Tong was so angry that he trembled and vomited 3 liters of blood. He had been lying in his room for nearly half a month. When he heard that the aura of the land of the deceased immortals had weakened and that it was about to open, he got up and went to the land of the deceased immortals. He had lost the initiative in the previous matter and could not miss the opening of the land of the deceased immortals again. Otherwise, if the Grand Supreme Dean and the others obtained any opportunities, he would really be finished. Among them, Luo Qingtong was the one that Chun Tong hated more than the Grand Supreme Dean. If it were not for her, the Grand Supreme Dean would not have had such an easy time under his scheme, not to mention being able to suppress him. However, who would have thought that one wrong step would lead to another wrong step after step? He had underestimated Luo Qingtong and was humiliated by her until he could not turn the tables. Chun Tong was furious. However, Luo Qingtong was the one who could heal by Su Qing's injuries. A group of Heavenly Yuan sect's elders protected her. They even gave her the honorary guest elder token that Bai Suqing had requested. He could not do anything to her at all. His status as an elder of the Sky Yuan sect did not have the slightest advantage in front of her. Thinking of this, Chun Tong was even more furious. And when he found out that Luo Qingtong most likely had the intention to offend him back then, the anger and resentment in his heart soared to the sky. B*TCH. He clenched his fists tightly and looked at Luo Qingtong with bloodshot eyes. He was so angry that he panted heavily. Luo Qingtong could not be bothered with him. Chun Tong was no longer a threat to her. It wasn't easy to make a move in the Sky Yuan sect. Once they entered the land of the fallen immortals, she would have plenty of ways to deal with him. Chun Tong also had the same idea. The honorary guest elder token could at most protect Luo Qingtong for a while. When they entered the land of the deceased immortals, they would be surrounded by dangers, and he would have plenty of opportunities to kill her. Hold it in. Chun Tong's heart was filled with hatred. He forcefully suppressed the anger in his eyes and lowered his head. At this moment, Luo Qingtong had already told the Tian Yuan sect master about her ability to neutralize the mysterious power in the Forbidden Zone. When Luo Qingtong healed by Su Qing's injuries, the elders had already guessed in their hearts. Hearing this, they were immediately excited. However, when Luo Qingtong said that the recovery and growth of Bai Suqing's strength was not caused by her, everyone was a little disappointed. After all, if Luo Qingtong could really achieve this, then the Forbidden Zone would no longer be a Forbidden Zone in the future. On the contrary, it would become a place for them to train and temper themselves. However, their disappointment did not last long, because Bai Suqing said that she could purify the celestial jade bone. In an instant, the group of Heavenly Yuan sect elders stood up abruptly. Su Qing, you have to know that this is a big deal. Don't joke around. Chapter 1987. Don't worry, Elder Mu. Bai Suqing looked at him with a smile and said, "This is indeed true. As she spoke, she took out the immortal jade bones that Luo Qingtong had purified for them during this period of time. Seeing that the celestial jade bones were sparkling and translucent without any impurities, the elders of the heavenly Yuan sect all sucked in a deep breath. No one doubted Bai Suqing's words anymore. Everyone looked at the purified, immortal jade bones with ecstasy. Such pure and translucent energy could be directly absorbed to enhance one's strength. If Bai Suqing and Zhu Yi had discovered this secret, wouldn't it mean that the strength of the Sky Yuan sect would be greatly enhanced? The Grand Supreme Dean and Bai Suqing had concealed the matter regarding Luo Qingtong and only said that they had discovered this secret by chance. The people of the Breeze Pavilion were dead, and the 3 guardians of the Celestial Palace were also not present. No one would know that what they had said was false. The elders of the Sky Yuan sect all believed it. At this point, they were firmly on the side of the Grand Supreme Dean and Bai Suqing. As for Chen Tong, he almost collapsed to the ground. He was still plotting how to regain the position of the chief disciple of the Sky Yuan sect. Now, he had suffered such a strong blow. Now that the Grand Supreme Dean and Bai Suqing had such a secret, how could he have a chance to be promoted in the Sky Yuan sect in the future? Chen Tong's heart turned cold, but soon he pulled himself together again. No, there was still one last chance. This time, there were traces of the treasure map in the land of the fallen immortals. As long as he could obtain the legendary treasure and the divine beast acknowledgement in the land of the fallen immortals, not to mention the Sky Yuan sect, even the entire hidden world would respect him. At that time, in the entire hidden world, only the people of the Star Alliance Palace could make him slightly wary. At that time, he wanted the Grand Supreme Dean, Bai Suqing, and Luo Qingtong to die miserably. Qingtong thought viciously. After the initial ecstasy, the elders of the Sky Yuan sect also thought of the location of the forbidden area. Their strength required the power of higher-grade, immortal jade bones in order to be able to increase. That kind of immortal jade bone could only be found in that forbidden area. Only once in a while would 1 or 2 of them reach the periphery. But now, because of Luo Qingtong, they could enter the forbidden area without worrying about suffering such terrible injuries. Even if they didn't obtain any treasures after entering, just the immortal jade bones alone were enough to make one's eyes go red with envy. Besides them, no one else knew about all of this. As the crowd thought about it, they became even more ecstatic. They looked at Luo Qingtong, the Grand Supreme Dean, and the others with even more satisfaction. Even when Bai Suqing suggested that Luo Qingtong's team should join their Sky Yuan sect, no one objected. As for Chen Tong, he wanted to object, but was there anyone willing to listen to him? He could only stand aside and watch the elders of the Sky Yuan sect, Luo Qingtong, the Grand Supreme Dean, and the others talk and laugh. The jealousy and hatred in his eyes were almost mixed with poison. After everything was settled, the Sky Yuan sect master immediately announced the departure of the Sky Yuan sect's team. Chapter 1988. Those who went to the land of the fallen immortals this time were the elites of all realms. After the competition, the top 100 disciples of all realms would participate. It could be said that the entire foundation of the heavenly Yuan sect was here. As for the other sects in the hidden world, they were all the same. Except for the first-class sects of the same level, the strength and foundation of the other sects were not as strong as the heavenly Yuan sect. Therefore, the number of disciples of all realms they brought was slightly more. Some low-level sects even sent all their members. In the hidden world, where the land of the fallen immortals was, a group of people gathered at the entrance where the aura was the weakest. When the people from the heavenly Yuan sect arrived, Su Yu and the others were already waiting there. Master, seeing Luo Qingtong and the people from the heavenly Yuan sect, Su Yu and the others immediately surrounded them. Yes, Luo Qingtong nodded calmly. Then she found that their strength had increased compared to when she left. Su Yu and Sima Ju were already high-level Saint Generals. Ling Tianhan, Little Overlord Yuan, Ling Yuer, and the others had also broken through to the Saint Generals. Only Su Xiao, the alchemist, was still at the Saint Master realm. However, she was already at the peak of the Saint Master realm. The people from the heavenly diabolism were almost all at the Saint Master realm. Only a few of them were at the peak of the Saint Master realm. This was all because when Bai Suqing sent people to find them, they brought along the immortal jade bones that Luo Qingtong had purified for them in the Heavenly Yuan sect. In addition to the deterrence of the Heavenly Yuan sect, Su Yu and the others had more time to cultivate in the Breeze Pavilion. When the land of the fallen immortals opened, he and the others had improved their strength by a little. When Luo Qingtong and Su Yu reunited, Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others walked out from the crowd and walked toward Yi Qianxian in the Heavenly Yuan sect. "Master," they reported in a low voice, "the aura here repels people from the outer realms. It's the consciousness formed by the outer realm experts. We can't enter." They had already arrived at the land of the fallen immortals, only to discover that they were not allowed to enter this place. Because Yi Qianxian and the others would come later, they did not go to the Tian Yuan sect to look for Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong. Yes, Yi Qianxian's expression was indifferent. He had already heard about this from Bai Suqing. He raised his head and looked at the land of the fallen immortals. He could vaguely feel that there was an aura inside that was repelling them. If they forced their way in, those who were not strong enough would be killed. The more powerful ones would destroy the land of the fallen immortals and cause it to collapse. Sure enough, everything was as Bai Suqing had said. He could not accompany Luo Qingtong on this trip to the land of the fallen immortals. Although Yi Qianxian had no intention of interfering with Luo Qingtong's training in the land of the fallen immortals, there was a difference between not going in himself and not being allowed in by others. Yi Qianxian looked at the aura enveloping the land of the fallen immortals with a cold gaze. A large number of consciousness bodies were entangled in it. Although others could not see them, it did not mean that Yi Qianxian and Bei Qing could not see them. These consciousness bodies were all the condensation of the consciousness of the outer realm experts who had died in the land of the fallen immortals. Instead of dispersing, they gathered in the sky above the land of the fallen immortals, preventing the outer realm experts and those who were stronger than the venerated realm from entering. Otherwise, they would rather destroy this place than let others obtain what was inside. Yi Qianren looked at him and narrowed his eyes coldly. Chapter 1989. A group of people walked in from the periphery of the land of the fallen immortals. Their imposing manner was vast and mighty, extremely swift and fierce. Seeing this, the surrounding crowd immediately retreated to the sides, revealing a path for them to pass through. It's the people from beast-taming King's Valley. The surrounding people discussed one after another. Yes, their imposing manner is so vigorous. These people's auras are all very strong. The strength of those demonic beasts is even stronger. As the crowd spoke, they raised their heads and looked at the group of demonic beasts descending from the sky. The group of golden-winged eagles and other demonic beasts retracted their wings and hooves, landing beside beast-taming King Guju and the others. The surrounding people were once again pushed further away by the strong winds that rose up in all directions. A large open space was revealed. When Luo Qingtong heard this wave of discussion, she had already looked towards the place where the people from beast-taming King's Valley came in. Seeing this scene, she immediately raised her eyebrows. The way the people from beast-taming King's Valley entered was quite arrogant. And when Luo Qingtong looked towards the direction of the people from beast-taming King's Valley, at the place where the people from beast-taming King's Valley were, beast-taming King Guju and Grand Elder and the others all had gloomy faces. Beside them was Fong Jingyu, who had an equally sinister and vicious expression. When Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed and she broke out of the encirclement with Yi Qianxian, she had already been released by beast-taming King Guju and the others. When Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed, knowing that she was an enemy, Fang Jingyu, who had always been against Luo Qingtong, naturally had no problems. Not only that, she was more forward-looking than anyone else, knowing that there was a problem with Luo Qingtong. The Dark Elder of Beast Taming King's Valley scolded Beast Taming King Gu Guju and the others. Then, with a cold face, he released Fang Jingyu from the dungeon. After all, he was also at fault. How did he fall into that slut's trap? If not for this, Luo Qingtong would never have been able to enter the 12th floor of the Scripture Pavilion so easily, or even the 13th floor. The group of people had lost so much face in their own valley, and even more, they were made a fool of by Luo Qingtong outside, offending a group of first-class sects and even people from the Star Alliance Hall. They really couldn't help but be angry, so it would be strange if their complexions were good right now. Father, Elder, and the others said that as long as that bitch comes to participate in the opening of the land of the fallen immortals, they will be able to find her. Is this a problem? Fang Jingyu's expression was cold. She ignored the discussions around her and walked with the beast tamer King Gu Guju and the others towards the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals. He asked the beast tamer King Gu Guju coldly as he walked. She no longer had any affection for her father, but this didn't prevent her from dealing with Luo Qingtong together with him. That bitch. Night-Eye. The coldness and anger in Fang Jingyu's eyes were almost tangible. That's right, unless she doesn't come. Otherwise, Elder In and the others will be able to find her. The beast tamer King Gu Guju's expression was cold. He didn't have the heart to have a deep father-daughter relationship with Fang Jingyu. The relationship between the two of them had long been broken. How could it be healed just like that? Moreover, although he was also at fault this time, he didn't care. Chapter 1990. If it hadn't been for the incident in the Beast Garden, they wouldn't have been fooled so deeply by Luo Qingtong. In his heart, the beast-taming King Valley Master blamed most of his mistakes on Fang Jingyu. If she didn't hate Luo Qingtong to the bone, he wouldn't have brought her to the land of the deceased immortals. When Gu Guju and the others entered the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals, Luo Qingtong suddenly felt that something was wrong. Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others had been looking left and right ever since they entered. Who were they looking for? Herself? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. When she was in the Beast Tamer Valley, she had deliberately disguised herself. Yi Qianxian had changed from a fox to a human form in a hurry and revealed his true appearance. But this time, his face was covered with a mask. How could the people of the Beast Tamer Valley find them? Could it be, as Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes, on a mountain peak not far away, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. Elder and led a group of people from the Beast Tamer Valley's dark tribe to set up a formation at the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals. Elder, most of the forces in the land of the deceased immortals have gathered here. An elder of the dark tribe said in a deep voice. The aura in the land of the deceased immortals was getting weaker and weaker. It wouldn't be long before they could enter. Most of the people in the hidden world who should be here had already arrived. Good. Elder An's face was cold. He looked at the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals with cold eyes. He had to make up for the mistakes he had made before. Do it. As his voice rang out, the group of Dark Tribe members immediately poured their power into the formation they had set up. In an instant, an invisible ray of light shot up to the sky. The Dark Tribe had been in charge of the secret place in the back mountain of the Beast Tamer Valley for such a long time. It was impossible for them not to take any measures to protect the secret place. Luo Qingtong moved the holy book on the 13th floor, although nothing could be seen normally. However, a faintly discernible aura had already imperceptibly infected her. This aura could only be manifested by using a special formation of the Dark Department in conjunction with a certain technique of the Beast Taming King Valley. Furthermore, it took a very long time to do so, and the range of its detection was also limited. Unless it was in a place like the land of the fallen immortals, where everyone was gathered, it was completely useless. Because of this, the Beast Taming King's Valley had a bellyful of anger. Now, he could finally vent it out. As soon as this formation appeared, unless Luo Qingtong was not among the people below who were going to the land of the deceased immortals. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't be able to dodge, just as Elder In and the others were thinking whoosh. The beam of light shot into the sky from the formation and landed among the group of people heading to the land of the fallen immortals. The entire entrance to the land of the deceased immortals was illuminated. This light could only be seen by those who practiced the beast-taming King Valley special technique. In their eyes, after the light shrouded the crowd at the entrance of the land of the fallen immortal, it landed on Luo Qingtong in the Tian Yuan sect. The girl's figure was completely covered in a layer of light. Bitch, she's really here. The eyes of the beast-taming King Guguju and the Grand Elder turned red when they saw Luo Qingtong's figure. He looked just like a furious beast from the beast battle arena. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was ferocious. Chapter 1991. At this moment, a hand stopped her. Wait, check her identity first. Beast Tamer King Guguju's expression was cold. His eyes swept over the group of people from the Sky Yuan sect who were with Luo Qingtong, and they were extremely cold. This slut was actually with the people from the Sky Yuan sect? What she did to the people of Beast Tamer King's Valley could have been ordered by the Sky Yuan sect. And that so-called treasure map, was it in the hands of the Sky Yuan sect? As Beast Tamer King Guguju thought about this, his heart was extremely cold. As for Fong Jingyu, after seeing the people from the Sky Yuan sect who were with Luo Qingtong, her complexion turned ugly. Sky Yuan sect, a first-class sect of the hidden world. Their people from Beast Tamer King's Valley were the strongest among the first-class sections. But in this situation, they had been framed by Luo Qingtong, and now they had a conflict with the people from the first-class sections. If they had to face the people from the Sky Yuan sect, they wouldn't be able to please them at all, let alone deal with Luo Qingtong. Damn it, this slut was actually from the Sky Yuan sect? Fong Jingyu's heart was filled with hatred. At this moment, the people from Beast Tamer King's Valley returned from their investigation. Valley Master, we've asked clearly. The other party isn't from the Sky Yuan sect, but a new honorary guest elder from the Sky Yuan sect. She came from the secular world. The person from Beast Tamer King's Valley who was responsible for the investigation reported all the information about Luo Qingtong. It was naturally impossible for the people of the Sky Yuan sect to let outsiders know all about Luo Qingtong. The news that they announced to the public was that Luo Qingtong had saved the Grand Principal a long time ago and became his student. That was why she was accepted into the Sky Yuan sect. The title of honorary guest elder was given to her by the Tian Yuan sect leader because of his love for her. This was the information that the people from Beast Tamer King's Valley had investigated. Humph, a young girl from a secular world of the true Spill continent? Beast Tamer King Guguju's eyes were ice cold. This person was actually just a young girl from the true Spill continent? What a joke. How could someone from the secular world have such ability? The other party must have another identity. The Beast Tamer King Guguju didn't believe Luo Qingtong's identity at all. Thus, he didn't think about sending people to true Spill continent to take revenge. He looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. It was fine as long as the other party was not from the Sky Yuan sect. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong most likely relied on the method she used to infiltrate their beast-taming King Valley to sneak into the Heavenly Yuan sect. Since this matter had nothing to do with the Sky Yuan sect, they could make a move on Luo Qingtong. Let's go. We'll make them hand over Luo Qingtong. At this moment, Beast Tamer King Guguju already knew Luo Qingtong's real name. He led the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley towards the Heaven Branch. Luo Qingtong had been paying attention to the movements of the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley. Seeing the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley walking towards her, she narrowed her eyes. If she didn't guess wrong, her identity should have been exposed. Although she didn't know how her identity was exposed, it was useless to say anything at this time. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Seeing the people from the beast-taming King's Valley walk over, she immediately had Su Yu and the others move away from her. She wasn't afraid of the people from the beast-taming King's Valley coming to deal with her, but if Su Yu and the others were involved, it would be troublesome. Chapter 1992. Seeing the people from the beast-taming King's Valley walking towards the Heavenly Yuan sect, the crowd broke out into discussion. Look, the people from the beast-taming King's Valley are walking towards the Heavenly Yuan sect. What's going on? Are the people from the beast-taming King's Valley looking for trouble with the Heavenly Yuan sect? It can't be, right? The people from the beast-taming King's Valley are about to become the target of public criticism. Why are they looking for trouble with the Heavenly Yuan sect? Is there something wrong with their heads? The crowd lowered their voices as they discussed. They looked at the faces of the people from the beast-taming King's Valley. They didn't think that the people from the beast-taming King's Valley would ally with the Heavenly Yuan sect. Furthermore, the people from the beast-taming King's Valley had rejected the goodwill of the first-rate sects and even offended the people from the Star Alliance. Why would they ally with the Heavenly Yuan sect if they didn't hand over the treasure map of the fallen immortal land? They were clearly looking for trouble. The people from the Heavenly Yuan sect also noticed the people from the beast-taming King's Valley walking towards them. The Heavenly Yuan sect master and the rest frowned. They didn't know what the people from the beast-taming King's Valley were planning. Beast-taming King Guguju. The Heavenly Yuan sect master walked out of the crowd and faced the people from the beast-taming King's Valley. Behind him was a group of elders from the Heavenly Yuan sect. I wonder why the beast-taming King Guguju has brought people here. The Heavenly Yuan sect master was cautious. The people from the beast-taming King's Valley had always been domineering. What were they up to? This matter has nothing to do with you people from the Heavenly Yuan sect. The beast-taming King Guguju's face was cold. After knowing that Luo Qingtong wasn't from the Heavenly Yuan sect, he no longer had any worries in his heart. Luo Qingtong? His gaze was cold as he looked at the girl standing beside the Grand President. He sneered, "Do you want to come here yourself, or do you want me to personally capture you?" The moment he said this, the crowd was stunned. Amongst them included the people from the Heavenly Yuan sect. They originally thought that the people from the beast-taming King's Valley were coming for them. Who would have thought that they were here for this young girl? Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong. The Grand Dean and Bai Suqing were also shocked. They immediately looked at Luo Qingtong. The Grand Supreme Dean lowered his voice and said, "Hey, evil doctor, how did you offend this group of evil spirits?" The Grand Supreme Dean probably couldn't figure it out even if he racked his brains. Luo Qingtong didn't just offend the other party. She had turned an entire beast-taming King Valley upside down. Not only that, but the beast-taming King's Valley had also become the target of public criticism and offended a large group of people because of her. As for Luo Qingtong, when she heard the beast-tamer King Guguju speak, she had already confirmed her thoughts. The other party had indeed seen through her identity. However, he only called her by her real name, Luo Qingtong, and not her alias, Nai Tai. Did he not want others to know about her identity and the grudge between them? Luo Qingtong thought for a moment and immediately understood the beast-tamer King Guguju's plan. The other party had probably already guessed that the treasure map was with her, so he didn't want to reveal her identity to the public. This was indeed the case. Luo Qingtong was the one who framed the Celestial Palace incident. Chapter 1993. Then the Celestial Palace would definitely not let go of Luo Qingtong. At that time, the matter of the treasure map would be leaked. If the people of beast-taming King's Valley did not know about the treasure map, then so be it. Now that they knew, and knew that the map was most likely with Luo Qingtong, how could they let the matter rest? Naturally, they would want to get their hands on the map. Otherwise, wouldn't they have taken the blame for nothing? Beast-taming King Guguju looked at Luo Qingtong with a ferocious expression. Fang Jingyu, who was beside him, turned her gaze to Yi Qianxian, who was beside Luo Qingtong. Was this masked man the handsome man who took Luo Qingtong away from the secret place in the back mountain that day? If he was, as long as he was willing to be with her, she could ask her father and the others to spare his life. From Fang Jingyu's point of view, Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong were able to leave safely that day because they had caught beast-taming King Guguju and the others off guard. Coupled with the assistance of the protective mountain array, they were able to achieve such a result. However, if beast-taming King Guguju and the others were serious and did not give him any chance, he would not have any chance of winning. After all, under the siege of a group of demonic beasts that day, this man was already somewhat unable to hold on. Was that not the case? Fang Jingyu did not know that it was because Yi Qianxian listened to Luo Qingtong's words and did not hurt the golden-winged great condor. That was why he seemed to be somewhat unable to hold on. She thought that Yi Qianxian was unable to defeat Beast, taming King Guguju and the others. She looked at Yi Qianxian in a daze. The latter, on the other hand, looked at Beast, taming King Guguju and the others with a cold gaze. Did they want to capture Luo Qingtong? They did not have the ability to do so. Have you brought everyone from the Black Field over? He asked Bei Qing and Fengyu through telepathy. I've brought them all. Master, there are close to 100 people at the Holy Venerate level and above. They are all near the fallen immortal land. Please rest assured, Master, Bei Qing and Fengyu hurriedly said. Before this, Yi Qianxian had ordered them to bring the Blackfield's strongest forces from the true Spill continent to the hidden world. They had brought them to the vicinity of the fallen immortal land early in the morning. At that moment, the strength of those people was more than sufficient to sweep through everyone present. The people of Beast-Taming King's Valley wanted to make a move against Luo Qingtong. It was simply a pipe dream. If someone could injure their mistress right under their noses in such a low-level continent, they would be shocked. In that case, all of them could go eat shit. Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold. He did not even raise his head. He was too lazy to look at Beast-Taming King Guguju and the others. If the latter dared to make a move, it would be their doomsday. In the Sky Yuan Sex team, Chen Tong was ecstatic. He had been looking for an opportunity to deal with Luo Qingtong and the Grand Dean. He did not expect that before the fallen immortal land, he would get such a great opportunity. Thinking of this, he could not wait to open his mouth and say, Beast-Taming King Guguju, are you mistaken? He said hypocritically. Miss Luo Qingtong is our Sky Yuan Sex honorary guest elder. She used to be a person of the secular world. How could she have a grudge with the people of Beast-Taming King's Valley? I'm afraid this is a misunderstanding. He said, Humph, this can't be a misunderstanding. Luo Qingtong has a grudge with the people of Beast-Taming King's Valley. Chapter 1994. Beast Tamer King Guguju's voice was cold when he saw that the Heavenly Yuan sect had the intention to interfere with Luo Qingtong's matter. His words were laced with a hint of threat. The Beast Tamer King's Valley members behind him took a step forward, looking like they were about to make a move. Seeing this, the Heavenly Yuan sect members' faces turned ugly. The Beast Tamer King's Valley members were too arrogant. However, the Beast Tamer King's Valley members were indeed stronger than them. If they were to make a move, the Heavenly Yuan sect would definitely be at a disadvantage. The group couldn't understand. Luo Qingtong was a little girl from the secular world. How could she have a grudge with the Beast Tamer King's Valley? The other party shouldn't have had the opportunity to come into contact with the Beast Tamer King's Valley members. While the Heavenly Yuan sect members were thinking, Chen Tong spoke again hypocritically. Hey, wait. How can the Beast Tamer King's Valley be so impulsive? Luo Qingtong, Miss Luo, how do you think this matter should be resolved? He looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong with a mocking expression. His gaze swept past Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianxian, and the Grand Supreme Dean. Come out yourself and have a good talk with the Beast Tamer, King Guguju, and the others. See what's going on? Otherwise, our Heavenly Yuan sect members will have a hard time. We can't implicate the entire sect because of your matter, right? Don't you think so? Chun Tong's words instantly enraged the Grand Supreme Dean. That treacherous bastard. He cursed in his heart. What was the difference between Chun Tong's words and asking Luo Qingtong to come out herself for the Beast Tamer King's Valley to deal with? He clearly knew that the Beast Tamer King's Valley members wanted to capture Luo Qingtong, but he still asked her to come out herself to talk with them. Could it be that if she didn't do anything wrong, the Beast Tamer King's Valley would give up on capturing her? He even said that because of her matter, the entire sect would be implicated. What nonsense was he spouting? Luo Qingtong clearly had a deal with the Heavenly Yuan sect to help them resolve the power from the Forbidden Area. The Heavenly Yuan sect members originally had an obligation to protect her. What did he mean by implicated? MMP. The Grand Principal couldn't bear it anymore. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to rush out to fight, but was stopped by Luo Qingtong. She already had a plan in mind, so she didn't need the Grand Supreme Dean to stand up for her. It's fine. I do have a grudge with the Beast Taming King's Valley. This grudge can't be resolved, so don't interfere. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She thought very clearly. Originally, she would have thought of a way to separate herself from the Sky Yuan sect after entering the fallen immortal land. After all, she had too many secrets, and it was not suitable for her to travel with the people of the Sky Yuan sect. Moreover, she had a lot of things to do, so it was not suitable for her to go with the Heavenly Yuan sect. The only reason he made the deal with the Sky Yuan sect was to make it easier for Su Yu and the others. The people from the Beast Taming King's Valley were here for her. There was no need to involve the people from the Heavenly Branch. Little girl, what are you talking about? You've helped me and my wife so much. Your business is our business. What are you talking about? The Grand Supreme Dean blew his beard and glared at her. Luo Qingtong said it lightly. She was alone. Even if she had Yi Qianxian with her, she didn't need to fear the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley. However, didn't she need to enter the fallen immortal land? And what would she do in the future? Would she have to hide from the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley? The other party couldn't do anything to her. What if they attacked the true Spill Continent? Chapter 1995. It's fine, you don't have to worry. Your Sky Yuan sect really can't do anything about this. You don't have to be stubborn with me. I know what I'm doing. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept past Qintong, who was already stirring up the crowd of disciples. The other party was waiting for the Grand Supreme Dean to jump out to protect her. At that time, the Grand Supreme Dean's position in the Sky Yuan sect would be unstable, and he would be able to harvest people's hearts. Luo Qingtong was clear in her heart that unless the Grand Supreme Dean revealed that she could transform the forbidden energy and even purify the immortal jade bone. Otherwise, if they defended her like this, it would definitely incur the dissatisfaction of a portion of the Sky Yuan sect. Moreover, even if she pulled in the Sky Yuan sect, they might not be able to deal with the people from Beast Taming King's Valley. Why would Luo Qingtong do this? Thinking of this, she immediately stood out. That's right, this is a matter between me and Beast Taming King's Valley. It has nothing to do with the Sky Yuan sect. Beast Taming King Guguju, don't use this as a pretext to make a fuss. Luo Qingtong stood out, startling the Sky Yuan sect master. Others might not know about Luo Qingtong's ability and value, but he was very clear about it. Just a moment ago, he was discussing with a group of elders that they must protect Luo Qingtong, but he didn't expect the latter to directly stand out. He was about to stop her when he heard Luo Qingtong raise her voice. Aren't you people from Beast Taming King's Valley trying to cover up the treasure map? So you want to silence me? Why do you have to find so many reasons? Everyone, I am Naitai, the so-called traitor of Beast Taming King's Valley. I can prove that the treasure map is in the hands of Beast Taming King's Valley. As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, she raised her hand and wiped her face. Suddenly, her face changed. When the crowd heard her words, their hearts were in an uproar. Naitai, the traitor of Beast Taming King's Valley? Hey, how do you know that she's a traitor? Wasn't it the people from Beast-Taming King's Valley who said it themselves? That's right. I think the Beast-Taming King's Valley used up all the people and found out that the matter was leaked. So they wanted to silence everyone. That's right. Previously, when people from the Celestial Palace went to their valley to interrogate them, they still refused to admit it and said that Nightai was a traitor. He said that this was all done by the other party and that it had nothing to do with their Beast-Taming King Valley. And the result? Just now, they obviously wanted to hide it from everyone and get Luo Qingtong to their side. And you're still saying that it wasn't premeditated and that you wanted to silence him. That's right. The crowd whispered to each other. As for the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, they were so angry that they almost vomited blood. They deliberately didn't reveal Luo Qingtong's identity because they wanted the map of the graveyard of immortals. Unexpectedly, Luo Qingtong, who should be more afraid of her identity being exposed than anyone else, took the initiative to expose her own identity. Not only that, she even made a false accusation. The mood of the people from Beast Taming King's Valley instantly turned sour. As for the Beast Tamer King Guguju, he raised his hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong. Blood rushed to his forehead as he angrily said. Before he could finish his words, Luo Qingtong already said with a face full of righteousness, "I'm a traitor." That's right, Valley Master. You've treated me very well and my kindness is as heavy as a mountain. But you want to kill me? You can't expect me to not tell the truth, right? For the sake of our Beast Taming King's Valley, I've endured enough. Previously, when the rumors were flying everywhere, I didn't even stand up to say a word about Beast Taming King's Valley. If you didn't see through my disguise today and wanted to kill me without giving me a chance, I wouldn't have stood up to expose you. Now, don't think of stopping me from telling the truth. Chapter 1996. As soon as Luo Qingtong spoke, Beast Tamer King Guguju couldn't take it anymore. He stomped his foot and charged towards Luo Qingtong. "Shut up, bitch! How dare you slander our Beast Tamer Valley?" Beast Tamer King Guguju was furious. If he'd known that this bitch was so cunning, he wouldn't have thought of getting her to his side before torturing her. He should have done it directly. She wouldn't even have had a chance to speak. Let's see how she's going to slander us. Beast Tamer King Guguju couldn't hold back his anger and charged towards Luo Qingtong. Seeing this, Yi Qianqian's eyes turned cold. The light under his sleeves was 70% contained and 30% ready to be released. He was about to wave it out. At this moment, Luo Qingtong pressed the back of his hand. "It's okay," she whispered into his ear. His gaze swept past the crowd gathered at the entrance to the land of the deceased immortals and looked towards a certain place behind them. Bang! As the Beast Taming King Valley's Valley Master moved, an attack suddenly appeared in front of him, blocking his path and forcing him to retreat. Beast Tamer King Guguju, why are you in such a hurry to make a move? Even if you want to silence her, isn't it a little too late now? Following this cold voice, a group of people walked in from the periphery of the land of the deceased immortals. This group of people was none other than the people from Celestial Palace and Star Alliance. The aura around the person walking at the front was vast and majestic. It was much stronger than the aura of everyone else present. He was surrounded by the aura of laws, and the blooming and dying of the 10,000 flowers seemed to be within it. He was the one who launched the attack just now. An exalted realm expert. Seeing the fluctuation of his aura, the people around him were all shocked. An exalted realm expert. This person's identity was obviously the Palace Master of Star Alliance. It's the Palace Master of Star Alliance. The Palace Master of Star Alliance actually came out in person this time. It seems that the treasures in the land of the deceased immortals are indeed coveted. Yes, the Palace Master of Star Alliance was sent by the Star Alliance to be in charge of guarding these continents. Normally, he wouldn't appear in the hidden world in order to better temper his strength and improve himself. He actually came out in person this time. Everyone looked at the Palace Master of Star Alliance in shock. Beside him was the Palace Master of Star Alliance's the Palace Master of Star Alliance. Everyone took a rough look and saw that there were no less than 10 peak holy venerables. There were dozens of them, exalted X's well. At this moment, he was respectfully following behind the Star Alliance Palace Master as he walked over. Beside them were the Celestial Palace's people who were flattering the Palace Master of Star Alliance. Luo Qingtong immediately winked at Yi Qianxian when she saw this group of people. See, I told you it's fine. They just needed to watch the show. At this moment, the Palace Master of Celestial Palace was looking at the Beast Tamer King Guguju, who was stopped by the Palace Master of Star Alliance. Beast Tamer King Guguju, your Beast Tamer King Valley probably didn't expect your lies to be exposed one day, right? Hand over our Celestial Palace's treasure map. We've already offered that to the Star Alliance's palace. Chapter 1997. Bulsh *T evidence in hand. When Beast Tamer King Guguju heard this, he was so angry that he couldn't suppress the sweet and fishy taste in his throat and spat it out. He pointed at Luo Qingtong and shouted, "She framed our Beast Tamer Valley. Humph! Do you think we're all blind? You clearly recognized her identity. Why didn't you say anything?" The Celestial Palace Lord sneered. Beast Tamer King Guguju thought they were 3 years old. As soon as they arrived at the entrance, they heard them asking the people from the Heavenly Yuan sect for the person they wanted. They didn't mention that Luo Qingtong was Naitai at all. If the other party didn't reveal her identity, they wouldn't know why they suddenly asked for a girl from the Sky Yuan sect. The Beast Taming King's Valley's trick was well executed. They probably thought that Luo Qingtong had shouldered all the crimes for the Beast Taming King Valley's kindness in the past, so she wouldn't dare to reveal her identity. Who knew that the girl would throw caution to the wind? The Celestial Palace Lord sneered. Beast Tamer King Guguju was almost angered to death. He did hide that Luo Qingtong was Naitai's identity, but it wasn't for the reason that the Celestial Palace Lord thought. This time, he really couldn't clear his name, even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Beast Tamer King Guguju was so angry that he gasped for breath. At this time, the Star Alliance Temple Lord opened his mouth. Beast Tamer King Guguju, it's useless to say more. His voice was cold. The Beast Taming King's Valley was clearly treating them like fools. Previously, he had the Star Alliance Temple Lord go to Beast Tamer Valley and ask them to make peace with Celestial Palace, giving him face. But the people of Beast Taming King's Valley kept saying that they didn't have any treasure map. At that time, he didn't have any evidence, so he couldn't do anything to the Beast Taming King's Valley. But now, since the people from Beast Taming King's Valley didn't have a treasure map, why would they go to such lengths to kill a young girl? And he still dared to say that he didn't kill him to silence him? He had heard of Night-Eye before. He was indeed one of the disciples that the Beast Tamer King Guguju valued greatly. In just a short period of time, she had changed from loving him to wanting to kill him. And it happened when the people of Celestial Palace were threatened and came to him for help. Who would believe that there was nothing fishy going on? The Beast Taming King's Valley actually treated him like a fool. Then don't blame him for not giving them any face. Return the treasure map of the Celestial Palace. Otherwise, bang. As the Star Alliance Hall Master waved his sleeve, the entire mountain peak in the distance suddenly collapsed. From top to bottom, it was as if it had been flattened by an invisible force, toppling mountains and overturning seas. Moving mountains and leveling the earth. It really happened in the blink of an eye, and there wasn't a single residue left on the huge mountain peak. It was as if it had completely disappeared into thin air. It was clearly turned into nothingness under the attack of the Star Alliance Hall Master. Seeing such strength, the surrounding people all sucked in a breath of air. And Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed, also looking at the Star Alliance Hall Master. The strength of the Venerable Realm actually had such power? Qianren, can you do it? Luo Qingtong pulled Yi Qianxian's sleeve and whispered to him. The man glanced at her. These words were simply an insult to his strength. The corners of Beiqing and Feng Yu's lips twitched as they listened. Chapter 1998. However, the barrier of this low-level continent was too weak. More than half of their strength was suppressed. They couldn't display their full strength here, otherwise, this continent's barrier wouldn't be able to withstand it. While Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian were whispering to each other, Beast Tamer King Gu Guju was in an extremely difficult situation because of her. The Star Alliance Palace Master wanted him to hand over the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, but he didn't have this treasure map in his hands. If he was not wrong, the real map should be in Luo Qingtong's hands. But the most hateful thing was that bitch, so that no one would believe his words. Even if Beast Tamer King Gu Guju said that the treasure map was in her hands and wanted to make a move on her, the Star Alliance Palace Master would have already made a move on him before he could do anything. Thinking of this, Beast Tamer King Gu Guju's expression was extremely ugly. If he knew that Luo Qingtong would make such a false accusation, he definitely wouldn't have been greedy for the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals. He definitely would have exposed this woman's identity and made public what she did. Damn it. This time, he was really going to be screwed over by this bitch. The people of Sky Yuan's sect also didn't expect such a turn of events and development. Sky Yuan's sect master originally wanted to stop Luo Qingtong and stop her from stepping out. However, he was a step too late. After hearing Luo Qingtong expose her identity, he didn't say anything. The girl had her own plans, he could feel it. The Grand Dean and Bai Suqing were also very surprised. Especially the Grand Dean, his mouth was wide open. He didn't know that Luo Qingtong was the recently popular Night Eye. This girl, when did she become so popular in the hidden world? Moreover, she was so daring. One must know that the name Night Eye was very popular in the hidden world. Beast Tamer King Valley's people were looking for her everywhere. The people of the Celestial Palace also said that if they found her, they would not let her off easily. What Night Eye had done in the Beast Taming King Valley was still the subject of gossip in the hidden world. This girl was doing so well in the hidden world that even he, the Supreme Dean, felt ashamed. As for Chun Tong, he clenched his teeth as he looked at the scene that was completely different from what he had expected. Bastard, Luo Qingtong is actually that Night Eye. He had pushed her out because he wanted her to be captured by the Beast Taming King's Valley. But who would have thought that she would be fine? Why was this TCH so lucky? Just as Chun Tong's heart was filled with hatred, Fang Jingyu, whose smile froze on her face due to Luo Qingtong's sudden reversal, suddenly spoke. Night Eye. She coldly called out Luo Qingtong's name. This TCH had ruined her looks and crippled her body. Now, she even wanted to use the Star Alliance Palace and Celestial Palace to deal with them. How could she let her have her way? Even if Fang Jingyu were to throw caution to the wind, she wouldn't let her have an easy time. Don't you know why our Beast Taming King's Valley is chasing you and hiding your identity? That's right. She looked at the Star Alliance Palace Master and said in a deep voice, that treasure map is indeed in our hands. The moment Fang Jingyu's words came out, Beast Taming King Gu Guju was instantly enraged. Fang Jingyu, what nonsense are you talking about? Chapter 1999. He glared at Fang Jingyu angrily. The latter simply ignored him. She raised her hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong. But this woman took it away. As she said this, she suddenly lifted her head and looked at Luo Qingtong coldly. Night Eye, I dare to swear that our Beast Taming King Valley doesn't have this map. Otherwise, I'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Do you dare to swear? Use the man next to you. Fang Jingyu pointed at Yi Qianxian sinisterly. This man was absolutely important to Luo Qingtong. She bet that the other party wouldn't use him to swear. Even if the map wasn't in Luo Qingtong's hands, it would still be the same. Of course, even if she took a step back, Luo Qingtong really did use this man to swear. Then, Such a vicious oath should be enough for the other party to see the true colors of Luo Qingtong, right? Being able to destroy the relationship between the two of them made Fang Jingyu proud and excited more than anything else. Why did Luo Qingtong have to get something that she couldn't have? Fang Jingyu's mind kept replaying the scene of Yi Qianxian standing up for Luo Qingtong in the secret place in the back mountain. Luo Qingtong didn't deserve such a man. How about it? She looked at Luo Qingtong coldly and sneered. Luo Qingtong, Naitai, do you dare to bet? Fang Jingyu's expression was aggressive. The Star Alliance Temple Master also looked at Luo Qingtong with a frown. Fang Jingyu had already made a heavenly oath, although he might not believe it. After all, the treasure map wasn't in the hands of beast-taming King Valley, but it didn't mean that they didn't have it. They could put it somewhere else or let someone else have it. But if Luo Qingtong didn't dare to swear, then it meant that there was something fishy about what she said before. Oh no, this evil doctor child. Looking at this scene, the Grand Supreme President was anxious. This move of Fang Jingyu's was too insidious. Asking Luo Qingtong to swear on Yi Qianxian. Wasn't that forcing her to admit it regardless of whether what she said was true or not? This bastard's thoughts were too vicious. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she heard Fang Jingyu's words. For once, the other party wasn't stupid. She could tell how important Yi Qianxian was to her. That's right. If Luo Qingtong had to swear on her own life, she wouldn't have minded. But if she were to use Yi Qianxian, even if there was only the slightest possibility that it would come true, she would not gamble on it. That's enough. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. The smile on her lips was devilish and unbridled. It bloomed so enchantingly as she looked at Fang Jingyu. Luo Qingtong's expression was languid and indifferent. At the same time, there was a devilish and seductive smile. The way she looked at Fang Jingyu was completely different from before. This was the real evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Everything before was just an act. You've won this round. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she looked at the man beside her. She knew it wasn't good to have a weak spot. If she wasn't careful, she would lose the whole game. Luo Qingtong had never lost in such a matter. But it was also fortunate that this man was her weak spot and not someone else. You're the one who caused this mess for me. You'll have to clean it up for me later. Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian with a gloomy expression. If she had known that in the end, Yi Qianxian would still have to make a move, she wouldn't have wasted so much time with the people from beast-taming King Valley. It was a waste of her saliva and expression. Chapter 2000. Yi Qianxian's expression was indifferent. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a faint smile, but when he looked at Fang Jingyu and the others, his eyes were full of coldness. He made a slight gesture under his sleeves. Bei Qing and Feng Yu understood and immediately began to send out signals to mobilize the experts of the Black Field outside. As for Fang Jingyu, after Luo Qingtong said that she had won this round, her heart was already wild with joy. Luo Qingtong, I knew you wouldn't dare to bet. She had indeed made the right bet. Luo Qingtong really didn't dare to swear on this man. However, Fang Jingyu still felt some regret in her heart. After all, Luo Qingtong didn't swear on Yi Qianxian, so she couldn't drive a wedge between the two of them. But it didn't matter. Luo Qingtong's death was the same. Thinking so, Fang Jingyu suddenly smiled proudly and proudly. That smile was full of malice. So, you're admitting that everything you said before was a lie. That's right. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She crossed her arms and looked at Fang Jingyu in front of her. The corners of her mouth raised slightly, and her tone was indescribably casual. I did deliberately frame your beast-taming King Valley. As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the surrounding crowd instantly went into an uproar. Luo Qingtong deliberately framed beast-taming King Valley? Did that mean that the beast-taming King Valley's Valley Master was telling the truth? She deliberately sneaked into beast-taming King Valley, gained their trust, and then turned beast-taming King Valley upside down, and then went to Celestial Palace to frame Beast taming King Valley. All of this was done by her. Everyone felt a burst of disbelief in their hearts. How old was Luo Qingtong? And her strength. Everyone looked at the aura rippling from Luo Qingtong's body. She was clearly in the Saint King realm. How did she manage to do that? Everyone's expression was shocked. Beast taming King Gu Guju also reacted at this time. Huh, bitch, you finally admitted it. Beast taming King Gu Guju's heart was indescribably proud and elated. This be *TCH. She had plotted against him to the point where he couldn't even defend himself. Now, she finally admitted that she was the one who framed the Beast taming King's valley. Beast taming King Gu was heart excited. Jingyu, well done. He laughed loudly. Then, he looked at Luo Qingtong ferociously and asked, not only did you frame us, but you also have the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, right? The Beast taming King Valley Master's face darkened. He had been a scapegoat for so long, and now the truth of the matter was finally going to be revealed. Yes. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up. She nodded. The treasure map is indeed in my hands. Luo Qingtong knew that after she admitted to framing Beast taming King Valley, the whereabouts of the treasure map could not be hidden. Therefore, she did not deny it. Everyone's eyes widened when they heard this. Oh my God! The Grand Dean was shocked by the development of this series of events. Luo Qingtong was not only night-eye. Moreover, everything she had said before was actually a lie. She framed Beast taming King Valley. Not only that, the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, which everyone coveted, was in her hands. Oh my God! Was this evil doctor's words true or false? Did she deliberately admit these things to avoid swearing on Yi Qianming? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.